Yes, people, bless up, blessings to everyone. Hope you all are doing well this Sunday. Please let me know whether you can hear me, if the sound's coming through okay. I think I'm coming through all right, but let me know. How's everyone doing this evening? It is Sunday, 7:35. I thought I'll start a little bit early today since it's, technically it's the start of the week, but we still have Monday, tomorrow's normal start of the working week. So hopefully not going to keep you up too late. So I hope our guys are all doing well. Wow. Before I get into, let me just greet the chat. I've greeted a few people already. Fiona, hope you're doing well this evening. I hope you had a good weekend. Obviously, Zulia, Space Cowboy, I appreciate you working. So yeah, hope you catch the playback. And if you're able to listen in when you're working, I don't know if that's even a possibility, but yeah, always good. Skittles Man Reloaded, what's up? Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear you. That's why I tried to start it a little bit earlier just to make sure that yeah, I understand. I gotta go work in the morning. We all do. It's is what it is. We work over the side of the pond. I don't know how people do it over there, but bro, I see some live streams. I don't know how they do it. They must have two things: an insane work ethic, or someone ain't working as much as I thought they would be, or just must be retired. I'll say that then. I'll say that as much. But yeah, please get the likes up. If you are listening on the playback, please make sure you like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you are new. And yeah, man, I just want to apologize. I've not been on the live streams of late, but it's been a bit busy around these parts. You know how it is. But yeah, there's been a lot of things that have sort of changed and sort of taken form. And I think the last live stream we did was about a month ago. And it's just like, man, what a difference a day makes, but what a difference a month makes. And there's so many things I wanted to sort of get into in tonight's live stream that I've kind of missed, which I was going to try and cover at certain points. I've done a couple of videos on it anyway, but I kind of wanted just to flesh out a few things that have been in my head as of late, which kind of ties into the overarching topic, the overarching theme about whether we are more followers than leaders. Now, of course, it's a kind of a provocative question, as it is just, with titles. So I appreciate people may not be happy with that, but it is a valid question. Let's be honest. And some of the things that I've been seeing just leads me to just think, are we really as men? Are we really as black men more followers? Are we more followers than leaders? Are we who we say we are? I mean, we always put out this front at the moment, at least, especially in a lot of these spaces about what we should be and how we should be leading and what we should be doing and all these kind of other things. And I'm thinking, okay, yep. Not gonna disagree with you. I'm not gonna disagree with you. What I mean, if you want to be in leadership or you want to be the head of the household, the head of society, that's where you belong and etc. Like that. Yeah. Fair enough. But man, there's certain things which when I listen to, when I hear, I just think to myself, is that just words? Is that just words? Is that just something that sounds good? Is that something that just sounds nice? But in reality, that's not really the case. I don't know, but we're going to get into it anyway. But the first little sort of subtopic that I really wanted to get into was the whole premiership. Now, Rishi Sunak, as you know, is now installed as a prime minister, and big ups to him. Congratulations. He's the first Asian prime minister, the first non-white prime minister to be head of the UK. So again, that's a massive feat for British society. Now, a lot of people have immediately jumped to two things. Number one, is it right? I suppose is one of the things in which has been question that has been raised. Now, for me, I'm going to go with this one in terms of that question because for me, I never liked the way how the whole system really works because at the end of the day, he didn't have anyone to run against. He wasn't elected by the people, but the process is the process. And he managed to get enough votes from his MPs that he needed to get at least a solid footing. Boris Johnson couldn't get it. So by the factor of the system, Rishi Sunak is now our prime minister. So again, fair play to him. It's the system that we're currently operating under. It's not his fault. It is what it is. I believe there should have been some sort of election. I believe there should have been some sort of at least contest, so we at least have the illusion of a democratic election, but it wasn't. But again, we'll see whether he gets elected in on a proper election because I believe there is going to be one at least in the next 2 years. He doesn't have to call one soon, but as far as I'm aware, in the next 2 years there will be one called. So we'll see whether the actual people feel the same way about Rishi as it seems as if the MPs who pretty much got him in see him as. So we'll see. I mean, again, a lot of things have taken place, as we know, over this year, which he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. Let's not forget that. But man, I'm telling you, people have a short memory. After that whole Liz Truss thing, he comes in here saying, "Oh, I'm going to undo all the things that we've done in the last sort of premiership between Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss." I'm like, bro, you've been here for the whole year, bar 44 days. It's just like, man alive. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Rishi Sunak, he is the first British Asian Prime Minister, the youngest Prime Minister as well. So there's a lot of things in which he's broken new records, and it seems to set the tone and the theme for. Because this is the next thing in regards to where do we stand as Black people in this country as being ethnic minorities. Because over the last couple of years, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we have been more of the focus in regards to again racial equality when it comes to where we stand on all facets and all aspects of life when it comes to positions, leadership positions, not leadership positions, when it comes to inequality. The whole playbook's been opened up. But quietly, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I don't know if it's even quietly, but if you look at where the seats of power are and who actually resides in that, who are visible minorities, as they say, they're not us. They're actually a lot of Asians. And this is where I'm gonna sort of give them a little bit of credit and a little bit of credit. I just want to give them their praise, but also just begs the question as to what are we doing? What is our as Black people in this country? What is our sort of, what's the word? What are we here for? What are we doing? I think Falcon had a live stream a couple of days ago. One of the questions was asked, I think it was by Space Cowboys, is what are we doing here? What is our remit? Now, British Asians, they've set out this store very, very, very well. Now, there has been different migrations that have taken place, which has aided that, which has helped a lot of Asians propel themselves quicker because they've had a better grounding. Those that came from East Africa, who was expelled by Idi Amin, those had a lot more business acumen from those parents, and the kids benefited from that. However, there's still a lot of other situations where that hasn't been the case, and they've still managed to get into positions where we would say, we've still not had. For example, let's look at the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. He came from a family, he's Pakistani origin, British Pakistani origin, working class family. He managed to rise up in the ranks. Sajid Javid, another similar example of that. So I will say this, when it comes to the ethnic minority who really, really, really I'm not saying necessarily taking advantage, but are really killing things in the game when it comes to power, because this is what it comes down to now. Asians, British Asians, man, they do seems to be the ones who are killing the game right now. So Rishi Sunak just seems to be just a shining example of that. But again, it's not just him as well. Again, you got Priti Patel, Swallow Braverman, who's been in the office, Sajid Javid. Again, Sadiq Khan's the Mayor of London. He's been re-elected again. So that means he's been in office. How long has it been in London? As you will know how long he's been there for. So in a lot of the seat of powers, even when Sean Bailey went against him, I mean, again, it's not necessarily race specific, but it just goes to show you exactly where they are right now when it comes to the seats of power. So big up to Rishi Sunak, big up to them. But they do seem to be the ones when it comes to, the seats of power. And that's really what we're looking. That's really the key. When we all scream and shout, when we all say a lot of things, and I'm going to get into the next topic, or the next sort of something topic about, what's been going on with Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, if anyone's followed basketball or anything like that at all. But power is key. We can always talk about, our influence and whether we have enough influence, but power is the key when it comes to these things. And at the moment, Asians do seem to be that minority who have a lot of power in these places where, we're looking to get into. I mean, Kwasi Kwarteng was our first ever Chancellor of the Exchequer, and unfortunately, he was the shortest ever serving Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's just a fascinating situation. So, I mean, Fiona, you did put something in the chat here where it does seem to be I don't know if it seems to be the case, but you could argue that may be what it is. insofar as much as I think they were called the buffer group. So during, obviously, in East Africa, when the Indians were brought over after the end of colonization, they were seen as the buffer between the white people and us, the black people over there in Africa. So that's how, again, bringing over to a lot of the Indians that migrated over from there during those times, they were seen as the buffer class. So they may be the model minority. They may just have the right sort of complexion. They may have the right sort of, I don't know, but that's what it seems to be at the moment. But again, fair play to them. They do set their stall out quite well. A lot of things I hear about their group, they do set their stall out. So it is what it is. But yeah, Rishi Sunak is our new prime minister. Again, personally, did a lot of things which I'm just questioning. If you look at his record, I think it's like 8 years. He was first an MP in 2014, and then now he's actually the prime minister. That's a short time for anyone. Forget anything. Forget race. Forget identity, politics. Forget all that nonsense. For anyone, if you've just been an MP in 2014, all the way to now, you're the prime minister in 2022, 8 years. That is absolutely a meteoric rise, and you have to ask questions about who's he been, if there's who's he been backed by. I mean, we all know about his upbringing. We know about his wife having a lot of money. We know that, but it's just one has to wonder about how is it possible, especially in this system. It's not like a republic where you can literally, if you have enough backing, you can run by yourself. You can go through the election, the circuit that they go on and become prime minister. Over here, you have to, win your party leadership. You have to get. It's just like man, it's crazy. But then again, I suppose it leads to a lot of backbiting, which he's been accused of being a snake. A lot of deals, backhanded deals that have been made. So I'm like, listen, when it's all said and done, congratulations. But when you look at the history of his rise and how it comes across, it's so quick. It's unbelievable. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But to the overall topic, and again, this is why I brought Rishi up, because he's the leader. And the question would have been, are we even ready to be? Do we even have a leader in waiting to be the prime minister if there even was a run? I mean, outside of Kwasi Kwarteng in the Conservative Party right now, I'm trying to think of any sort of, off the top of my head, any sort of leader, black leader who you think, okay, that's someone who can fill in the void. That's someone who seems to be capable. And right now, I can't think of anyone. You got James Cleverly there, who's clearly, he's the foreign secretary. No, sorry, he's not the foreign secretary, but he's in the high seats right now. But outside of James Cleverly, you got Kemi Badenoch. I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you, the names don't really roll off the tongue. And it just leads to the wider question about whether we, as I suppose black men, are we capable, are we effective leaderships? Are we seen as leadership material? Because this is the thing which I was thinking about when I was sort of like drafting up my notes on this title of this live stream. And I want to get into Wiley and talking about the Jews, because this is another thing as well, which I really wanted to get into, what's been missing off my last few videos. But are we seen as a capable leader? Are we seen as someone who invokes that kind of leadership material? Now, I'm just going to let you ponder on that, because that's something which I've always thought about, whether do we see ourselves as leadership material, or do we see ourselves as more just following the crowd? Or do we think that other groups will find ourselves as capable leaders? Do we think that other groups will warm to us? I mean, I know people will say, oh, no, racism and that kind of stuff. But seriously now, if we've had an Asian prime minister, what is to stop us from being the black prime minister? Or is that too far of a stretch? You let me know in the comments. But right now, I want to get into this. I want to get into this next little thing right now. So just bear with me a second. Bear with me a second. Because I want to play this clip, because recently there's been a bit of a storm brewing up over the pond in regards to Kyrie Irving and his views in regards to anti-Semitic views. Now, I did a video on Kanye West because he's also gone through the same thing where it comes to cancel culture. And we all know that when you talk about one particular group of people, we all know that you really have to be very careful about what you say. And for me, this whole situation is kind of, it just brings home a few points which I just wanted to bring out here. But I just wanted to play this clip just so that people just remind themselves of what happened just 2 years ago, and why people's memories are so either short, or people don't seem to, take heed to history. And this is one of the things which kind of kills me when it comes to us as a group of people, about how we seem to just fall into the same traps, which kind of makes me think, if we are in leadership material, are we going to fall for the same mistakes that we've fallen for all the time and get ourselves flipping cancelled, get ourselves under some sort of scrutiny, under arrest unnecessarily? So I'm gonna play this video. I mean, I'm hoping you guys will all remember what took place a couple of years ago. So let me just do this a second. Let me just do this. Oh, my machine's going so slow. All right. Here we go. My machine's going so slow today. All right, here we go.
He's the godfather of grime. For 2 decades, Wiley has been an influential figure in British culture. Throughout his life, he says he's been stabbed more than 20 times and has survived in a music industry where he's regarded as an enigmatic figure. That is until he posted a series of anti-Semitic comments on social media. He's been heavily criticized for insulting Jewish people and comparing them to the Ku Klux Klan. It's these remarks which have prompted condemnation from all political parties, including the Home Secretary.
I'm not racist, you know. I'm a businessman.
So if you're not racist, then why did you make the following anti-Semitic comment? I'm going to quote the tweet that you put out. You said, Jewish community, you're too touchy. Anyway, Israel is not yours. Hold that.
Do I see why that could be as racism?
Should I read it again?
No, you don't need to read it again. If I read what anti-Semitism is, and it says the Jewish community is powerful within business, that's racist, I think that's silly. I don't care what nobody says. I want to apologize for generalizing, number one, and I want to apologize for comments that were looked at as anti-Semitic.
It's the first time Wiley is speaking following a dispute with his former music manager, John Wolfe, who is Jewish. In my interview with the rapper, he repeated similar comments to those posted on his Twitter, much of which is too inflammatory to broadcast. And despite saying he regrets the generalizations he made about Jewish people, minutes later, he also said this.
The music industry, batch of people I'm talking about, they're the ones who get to benefit from it. That's what this is all about. It's systemic racism from their side. What do you think? The system and that man and a community of Jewish lawyers and thingy have made me feel that way. Yes, they have. They've made me feel that way. Not anti-Semitic. They've made me feel angry and upset because they are showing me the systemic racism and privilege that they're allowed to use on us.
His remarks are self-defeating. And even though he denies being a racist, Wiley is still struggling to understand why his comments have now led to a police investigation. There are people who believe that your tweets are vile and offensive. What do you say to those fans who may take your word and then go on to incite hatred or commit violence?
All right, I'm just going to stop it there because you pretty much heard exactly what you've got, the gist of it. You understand exactly where we're all going with this. But so a couple of years ago, Wiley made all these tweets and everything like that at all against the Jewish community, and I think since then he's not even been back onto it. I think he's been banned from all social media. He's been dropped by so much sponsorship deals, and all these things have taken place because he's criticized. He's generalized and criticized, and he's made what they call anti-Semitic tweets. And the same thing is now has happened to, as you know, Kanye West has done the exact same thing. Hell, Nick Cannon, and remember Nick Cannon? Nick Cannon, he kind of went on the tirade, and they all ran the exact same thing. They all had the exact same talking points. So these talking points were used exactly the same time over the space of about 2 to 3 years ago. I think Wiley's was, I think Nick Cannon was a bit earlier than that, but basically 2 years ago. And they're all saying the same thing about how obviously they control the media, they control the music industries. They're the ones who are doing this. They're the ones doing that. We've all heard this so many times. And then also another part of it is regarding their birthright and who they are as a people, and how if you listen to some of the other rhetoric from, the Black Hebrew Israelites and how they're meant to be the true people of the book, and that's what Wiley also tweeted as well. So all these things took place, and all of these are prominent people of our society who we would now look up to as leaders. Wiley being the godfather of grime. You had Kanye West, who people seem to really, really like. And he was, this is it, he was the richest black man in America until all this kicked off, in which now he's lost so much sponsorship deals. And now with Kyrie Irving, he's kind of was seen as the voice for the people. If anyone watches basketball at all, you would find out that Kyrie's kind of one of those ones who seems to, at least people come across him as a deep thinker, one who is not afraid to speak their mind, one who is always willing to put other people forward. But all of them seem to have fallen foul of the exact same groups by doing the exact same play. And the reason why I brought this up in this overall theme, because in my mind, this is just my 2 pence thoughts on it. I'm happy for people to have their views on it, because I know this is what kills me with our people. Because the first thing that people do, I've heard, is, well, was he right or wrong? And they kind of missed the overarching theme about what the problem is: effective communication. And this is one of the key things about how I don't think, when I look across the board at where our so-called leaders are, or where people find our leaders to be, or who they hold to be the leaders of black people, they seem to lack effective communication when it comes to handling things. Now, whether they're right or wrong, sometimes it belays the point. And it almost takes them to be cancelled. It almost takes their sponsorship deals for them to effectively communicate what they actually mean. Because what happens in all these cases is they go on a tirade saying, all these people are this, they generalize, they talk about groups. And even if you are correct, this is the thing that kills me the most. This is where sometimes emotional intelligence comes into place. And this is where politicians do it so flipping cleverly, in the way how they speak their words and how they say things, but they don't really say things. They mean things, but they don't mean things. And this is something which I find when it comes to our group, especially black men, are sometimes we're so quick to just fire off in the mouth. We're so quick to just say things, we're so quick to do things. Then when we get the pushback, we want to double down. Now, here's what I'm going to say to this. I respect anyone's viewpoints on what they believe to be true in regards to who you are as a person. If you believe to be original Jews, if you believe that to be the case, I got no problem with that. No problems with that. But boy, for some odd reason, I don't know what it is. When it comes to us, I know Kanye West may be a crappy example, maybe even Wiley is a crappy example, because sometimes, let's be honest, they aren't really the smartest bulb, the brightest bulb on the tree. They're not necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer. I get that. But it's just, for me, it kills me how you've got to that stage, you've got to that pinnacle of your career where you're well known, you've got all this money, and sometimes it's the most dumbest things that will just let you down. Now, people think that, oh, you have to sell out by almost conforming, but you know what? It's not even like that. All they need to do is almost get someone in the side to be clever enough to say, look, just communicate in this way by saying, I mean, these specific people in these specific organizations who are specifically doing X, Y, Z to me, not the whole group, even if you do have those viewpoints for whatever reason. But no, guess what all of them seem to do? They all seem to double down on it, triple down on it. And then basically when they've been kicked down and almost, all their stuff is gone, now they want to have an apology. But by that time, it's way too late. And this goes into communication being an issue when it comes to us as black men. Let's be honest, we have shitty communication styles. And then when it comes to emotional intelligence, because again, every single black person is like, oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. I see a lot of black people saying, oh, was he right though? Was he right though? Oh, but was he right though? Was he right though? I'm like, again, sometimes you completely miss the whole point about what the conversation is even about, because we're too busy trying to almost hit points. And then it's like, okay, what's if he's right? He's lost all his earnings. He's lost his finances. He's lost his livelihood. I mean, in the case of Wiley, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what he's been doing as of late. I know I know social media is not the be all end all of life, but he's been pretty much banned for organizations. I'm pretty sure events that probably would have hosted him are like, nah, I'm not going to host you anymore. So sometimes I always think to myself, and again, this is just me thinking, you were right all that time. Apparently, you were fighting the cause to be right. And then it's a case of, now look at you. Now look what you've got. Your food's taken off your table. And it's just, all it needs to be was just an effective communicator. Sometimes you can be you try to be too real for school. And I don't know if you watch Dave Chappelle, when Keeping It Real goes wrong, there are situations like that where you just think, your communication style, your effective communication, even if anyone's, when we're at our workplace, let's be honest, There are some times where I want to just say all my days. There's certain things I want to say to just whoever it may be, but there's a way of saying it. There's a way of communicating. It's not about, sucking up. It's not necessarily about conforming, even though it sounds like it. It's not about, selling out. It's just about sometimes there are situations where, do you know what? You can either A, hold your tongue, or B, if you are going to say something, you can say it in a way which comes across effectively. It doesn't have to be in a way which generalizes to the point of it will be considered hate speech. There are ways of communicating which sometimes when I see a lot of, whenever I've experienced some black people and I've seen it and I realized, yeah, that's why you are the way, that's why you are in the position that you're in. That's why sometimes I don't see enough black people in higher places, because guess what comes from it? Oh, you have to sell out. Oh, I can't speak my mind. Oh, I can't be real. Oh, I can't say what needs to go on. And listen, newsflash for everybody. I don't think there's, unless you are independently wealthy, unless you are, I'm trying to think of even a person alive who can really say what the F they really want to say. I'm trying to think of someone alive who can really say whatever they want to say on their mind. But let's be honest, the industry that we operate in, and this is why we have to be a little bit more cuter. If we're in the entertainment industry, who runs it? I mean, imagine the people who run the entertainment industry, you going up to them and just slagging off their whole group of people, and then expecting that same group to be like, oh, right, yeah, we're gonna still employ you. We're still gonna have our sponsorship deals. We're gonna still help you with our marketing. No, it's not gonna work that way. And this is where sometimes I'm like, the real world beckons, and truth be told, it shows sometimes lack of emotional intelligence. It shows how ineffective a communicator we can be. And then it goes to show the real crux, which I do agree with what they're saying here. And I will agree. Yes, the Jewish community holds a hell of a lot of power. Yes, they flipping do. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna even lie and say that. Try and spin it. They hold a lot of power, because guess what? They actually are they're in the ownership positions of where a lot of us delve into entertainment industry, whether it be music, whether it be sports, entertainment, film industry, cinema, whatever it may be. Yes, when it comes to the big execs, the big wigs, they do seem to be of a certain, if you want to call it religion, nationality, whatever you want to call it. But guess what? That is just that is what it is right now. So there are certain things where I'm thinking, man, did we even learn exactly what took place 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It seems like a long time ago when Wiley said what he said, but I remember. And this is what kills me the most. And this is why, when it comes to, are we able to be leaders or more followers? That's one thing I think we'd still have a long way to go. Communication. I mean, even when it comes to the space that we operate in, or a lot of the Red Pill spaces, when I see how a lot of black men conduct themselves with each other, I'm like, bruh, are you telling me that you couldn't have agreed to disagree amicably, but you had to go on a tirade? I mean, how is it? There's no way near you're going to get other men to follow you, in my opinion, if you're going to act like that, just because you may have a difference of opinion, because you may disagree, because you may have a different view, whatever it may be. It's like there are ways of disagreeing, even if it gets heated, even if it gets hot, even if it gets a little bit uncomfortable. There are ways to say, you know what, I'm just going to say this, agree, disagree, and we'll just go to my end of the corners and we'll come back. But sometimes it doesn't seem to happen when it comes to us. And listen, we got to hold ourselves responsible and accountable for this as black men, because at the end of the day, if we're saying we're meant to be the leaders, if we're saying we're meant to be the head, then, we got to show a better way. And when I saw the Wiley incident, when I saw the Kanye incident, when I saw the Kyrie Irving incident, it all goes back to this one thing. It's okay to be stubborn at times, but you can't be stubborn to the point of pig-headedness where you can't even see outside of your own nose. It's just like to the point where you're going to destroy your own livelihood. Now, that's not to say that you can't you can't be truthful in what you're saying. But I'm telling you, some people can be so stubborn that they can't even see what's it called, the wood for the trees, the forest for the trees. That's how it gets. And that's how, when I see a lot of situations where, even when it comes to leaders, I'm like, our leaderships, when it comes to our movements, a lot of it dissolves and fails because of this fact, because there's always infighting, because there's stubbornness, because there's not the communication that's effective, because there's not the emotional intelligence, which is huge when it comes to leadership. Huge. So what happens is we have a shitstorm of mess, because a lot of times, and I'll say this, which is a good thing, which our people hold in abundance, but not necessarily can be for the right reason. That's charisma. Now, a lot of leaders, they possess a lot of charisma, as we see a lot of leaders in, past, present, and probably in the future. And that's a good thing. Having charisma is a good thing. You want people to follow you. You want to be able to command an audience. You want to be able to say the words in a nice way, in a flowing manner. You want that. That is a good thing. People are drawn to charismatic leaders. That I don't know the history of that. I don't know I don't know what that's about. Even when you go to church, the ones who are more charismatic, the preachers, they're the ones who get the audience. The ones who are always, the ones who have that way of elocution, of speaking a way about themselves, they're the ones who are likely going to get more of the audience. So that is a good thing. And our people hold that in abundance. So I can't even say that's a bad thing. I gotta be truthful. But again, being charismatic is one thing, but then you got the other things that go along with it when it comes to, again, sometimes you can be a little bit too arrogant, you can be a bit too stubborn, you can be a bit too pig-headed, and then this other stuff comes out and it's just, it becomes madness. It becomes a madness. But before I get on to the next thing I wanted to come into when it comes to this topic, please make sure you like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you are new. I appreciate you coming in on a Sunday. I do appreciate everyone. But let's go into the stats. So let's see where we rank right now, because some latest stats have come through in regards to where we are as a people in regards to leadership roles and how we are. So I want to know exactly how well are we doing as a people when it comes to the senior directors, the management leadership, the positions of power, because that's what a lot of us care about. That's what we aim and strive for, I believe. So I'm just going to share a couple of things, and then we're going to see where we fall into this minefield. Right, let me hopefully share the screen. Hopefully it's not going to crash on you, boy. All right, here we go. So let's go to this one first. So this one says BAME people hold just 4.6% of the UK's most powerful roles, data shows. So already here, we can see there's a discrepancy here. So just 51 of the top 1,097 workplace roles in the UK are held by Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people. Data shared exclusively with Sky News shows. So this amounts to just 4.6%, despite that we make up, I suppose we as a group, 14% of the population. So already right now, when it comes to BAME, so they include obviously Black, Asians, and all minority groups, it's underrepresented. But what I want to know is if we even split that, because I know people have a problem with the word BAME. I get that. I hear you. How does it look? What does it look? So let's go to this one here. So this one is the ONS data sites, in which it looks at where we rank in professions and where we are. Because this is another key which goes into not just as we are as leadership, but just where we are in terms of the working world. So this one here is what you're looking at, which you hopefully can see on the screen when it comes to managers, directors, and senior officials. And as you can see here, we are the least likely to be in these roles out of all groups, including if you want to add the BAME group. So the average is 10.3%. We are 4.6%. So even right there, when it comes to senior positions, managers, directors, senior officials, I think the next one is an other group. I mean, I don't know what that other even is, but pretty much everyone else is damn near double where we are at in regards to representation on these managers, directors, and senior officials. So it just goes to show you exactly where we're wired as a people. And then if I scroll down, because most of us will fit in as professional occupations, and there's, again, nothing wrong with that. And let me just preface by saying this. I'm nowhere near saying that everyone's built and cut out to be a leader. I do want to ask the question when I open up the panel as to whether you think leadership is something that you can learn, or is that something that's organic, something that you're born with? But it's just sometimes telling where we are as a people and where we're not in the people group. And when we have these discussions, truth be told, these discussions need to be weighted a lot to, are we in the seats of power to actually make any influential decisions? Because there's an area which come across, which I just wanted to highlight exactly why sometimes when we say what we say, it's like we can't back things up because we don't have power to back it up with. Hence why I brought up, the Wiley, the Jewish situation, because at the end of the day, while they may not be shouting and screaming, they have the power to back up whoever comes at them. And they did, and they've shown exactly what they did by stripping Wiley. They stripped Kanye West from all his endorsement deals. Listen, there's certain groups where you may not hear them, but they're influential group. They are class. They are the shining example of that. But if we go scroll down here, and I put a stat on my community post about where we seem to be most represented. Now, you got the caring, leisure, and other service occupations. Just to give an eye and eye, it goes down in the in descending orders to the ascending order in terms of the most top groups all the way down to the bottom groups. So as you can see here, we seem to be heavily into the caring, leisure, and other service occupations, to the tune of 18.5% against the average of 8.1. And then the elementary occupations, which are you would say the entry position jobs. That's what it means by elementary. And again, we seem to be heavily represented in positions where you would argue we are first fired, or whenever there comes a cut, we're going to be at loss, or we're going to be at threat. We're going to be in positions where it's not going to have as much influence or even power, especially power and even influence when it comes to the direction of travel for our people group. So you can see already that we seem to be heavily occupied that position and not more leadership positions, hence the gap here between managers, directors, and senior officials. So when you see a lot of these things, and again, there's nothing wrong with being a care worker, there's nothing wrong with being a professional, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It just is what it is. But it's just painting the picture of where we are as a group and where we are as a people in terms of leadership, and where we are in terms of power, and where we are in terms of influence. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, at the end of the day, God willing, if you live on this earth long enough, you may need someone to take care of you. So these people are extremely vital, especially in times where you have a lot of cuts. It is absolutely vital. So I'm nowhere near want to be disrespectful. I know anyone want to say like it's nothing. I know anyone want to say that. So I want to make sure that's perfectly clear. But I just wanted to use that as the example of where we are as a people. And when we say these things and when we try and almost hold other groups to account, we really are at the mercy of other groups because we don't have power. We're not leaders in these areas. When it comes to ownership, we don't own as much as we probably should think we do. So even then, it's like, how can we even impact change if we don't own as much as we should do? And if we're not in the power positions where we can actually say, you know what, no, I didn't like how that went. I didn't like that either that went out. I didn't like the portrayal of how we are. I didn't like that. You see what I mean? It all flows into, are we capable? And because of that, that puts us in the, as they call, the bitch position. Let's be honest, it puts us in the bitch position. So we're more akin to be more following than leaders, or we come into the realm of being more complainers as opposed to actually doers. So either one of the two, it puts us in that position, unfortunately. And the reason why I say that is because article came up when I was doing what I was doing in regards to football. Now, for those who likes football or not like football, but if you pay attention to football, a lot of us are represented in football. And there's been a lot of complaints about there's no football managers. Again, when it comes to us as people, we can get so far. But when it comes to being a manager, when it comes to being a leader, we're not represented. And this has been going on for ages. And there's been so much talk about it, in which I thought to myself, how is it possible that none of the footballers, past and even present, have even thought about even coming together in order to try and again change that fact in terms of getting into management, in terms of setting up some coalition, in terms of doing anything it can do, even when it comes to ownership. I mean, I can think of so many footballers off the top of my head, from Les Ferdinands, from Ian Wright, from Cyril Regis, who's unfortunately passed now, but from all these football players, Sean Wright Phillips, all these football players, Emil Heskey, I can list goes on and on and on about footballers who have made quite a bit in football and in the industry. But when it comes to, maybe managers, or say management, when it comes to that kind of areas, it's very much lacking. Very, 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 very much lacking. And Stormzy, now I know people may not like Stormzy, but I got to give him his props here, because this is where, and I think someone said it in the chat a few lives ago, and he said the revolutionary is always more impactful than the educated. And I was like, I had to like marinate on that a little bit, because I thought, really, are they more impactful? And I'm like, he might be onto something. I'm not quite on that yet, but I'm on to. I do believe I understand where he's coming from, because for those who don't know about Stormzy, he's actually, let me share this. Let me share this. Again, in regards to kind of what he represents, people may not agree with it, but here's what he's actually doing based on the money or based on his influence and power that he has. So he's trying to inspire change and address lack of diversity off the football pitch. So a report published last month showed that 43% of Premier League and 34% of English Football League players are black, but only 4.4% are managers. So new research shows people identify as black or mixed black heritage hold 6.7% of football senior roles. And then we hope to inspire real change within this field. And so the research commissioned by Adidas with Fair Network also found that 52% of black women surveyed said they wanted a role in football, but 40% did not think they would get one because of their gender. So there's two clashing things there. You got gender and you got race, which is always something that's going to exist, especially in an area like football, if I be honest with you. So Stormzy and Adidas, along with 11 partners, including Manchester United, Fulham and Sky, will create a careers program called Murky FC that will provide placements in a variety of areas. Crystal Palace manager Patrick Vieira, I think he's the only black manager in the Premier League. Yeah, I think Espirito Santos, he left. So yeah, Patrick Vieira is the only black manager in the Premier League. So he told BBC Sport in October that doors are not open for black managers in the UK. And Storm said the initiative was part of my wider commitment to show racial equality in the UK. Now, keep this in mind now. This is a guy, I mean, regardless of what you think of him, you got to give him his praise where praise is due. Because in 2020, he pledged 10 billion to UK organizations to tackle inequality, justice reform, and black empowerment. And then if you guys all remember as well, or ladies and gentlemen remember as well, he also, in partnership with Cambridge, I don't think it was Oxford, correct me if I'm wrong, it's one of Oxford or Cambridge, in which he's partnered with in order to help other black students pay their tuitions and get into these prestigious organizations. So again, credit where credit is due. I know people may not like who he is or what it represents, but this is something which I thought if you had so many footballers who play the game, love the game, wants to get back into the game in another capacity after they're finished, they would have been like, let's all band together, let's all do this, and let's try and do it like that. But that's not really how it seems to be the case. It always seems to be the ones who people, let's be honest, the ones who have a nefarious background, they're the ones who seems to be doing that more often than not. I mean, even off the top of my head, people like Noah Clark, again, he's had a background. Kano and all them kind of all them man them there, you know what they've been doing. They've been banding together. They're in shows. Obviously, they bring each other up on their albums. I know they beef, but let's be honest. A lot of times, it ain't all that deep. Sometimes it is. I get it, but it's just like they seem to, at least on that side, potentially because they have to do it because they haven't got the traditional route to go down. They seem to be doing a lot more things to help each other to bring other people up who look like them, as opposed to the person who's just trying to, go through the traditional route. That's what it seems like. So when the comment came about the revolutionary is more impactful than the educated, I'm like, I can see what you're saying in certain ways. I'm still not there with it because there are other things which are a hell of a lot more detrimental, in my humble opinion. Because at the end of the day, if you cause the death of so many lives, does paying so much tuition to go through Oxford and Cambridge account for that? You know what I mean? So there's all these things you have to contend with. But again, credit where credit is due. Stormzy seems to be doing a lot of things to help, in his mind, correct the inequality, or at least open the doors. Because one thing about football, which I will have to say, it really is your name and your face is fit. Forget race for a second. If anyone knows anything about football, you would know if you've got a foreign, sexy sounding name, even if especially if you're white British, if you're a white British person like Potter, I mean, people started making joke when Graham Potter got the job at Chelsea, but it's true. Let's be honest, at the most, when it comes to just bog standard names that, as we consider British, that's not sexy enough for certain roles. So a lot of times it's so much things to contend with when it comes to the area of sport that, often gets missed. That doesn't get missed by me because I do like the sport. But again, big up to Stormzy anyway, because a lot of times, you have to get those doors open. It's an area where, I'll be honest with you, it is very, very, very it's favoritism at its finest degree. So it is what it is. Now, the last sort of thing before I open up the chat and open up the channel, which is really, really, really been doing the rounds. And was like, how's I going to address this? Should I address this? Everyone's been addressing it, but I need to, because it falls into exactly what I'm talking about in this live stream about where are we as a leader, how we view this leadership, are we capable of being leader or follower? And it's the just pearly things. It's just pearly things. And the reason why I'm just giving my 2 cents on this is because, number one, her rise in the space that she is in is like, it's symptomatic of, for me, how I view a lot of black men in the UK. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Because I think it's perfect that she's over here. Because I don't think she could have gone anywhere else and blew up like she's blown up. But she could have perfectly done it over here. I don't know what, this is what I'm thinking in my head when I looked at just pearly things, and I thought, and it reminded me of conversation I had with my white friends when I was younger about certain things, and I was vehemently against that crap. I was like, you lying, you lying, you lying. But I'm just like, when I see it, and when I see what's going on, and when I see the optics, and when I'm trying to step away from everything, I'm like, she could have only existed in the space she existed, in the manner she existed, in my humble estimation, A, amongst black people, and B, definitely in the UK. Because I don't think she could have existed for definite sure in the white man's in the white sector. I don't think she could exist at all with other just because she's, for starters, let's go for the optics. Let's what am I talking about? Let's go for the optics. Number one, she's a woman talking about or fostering, I use this word, fostering conversations about red pill nature, red pill talk, well, really relationship red pill talk. And I already know a lot of the white men are super skeptical, super skeptical. Now, granted, she can have a YouTube channel, she can create what she wants to create, people can glean to her. They can't control that. But it's just the fact that black men have co-signed her. That's what so quickly. That's what's killing me. So quickly. And I'm just thinking to myself, even the leaders of the so-called white space, they have not co-signed her. They've just they've stayed in the background. They've sort of said, okay, you seem to be on our side. Okay, cool. But they're like, we understand who you are. We don't trust you. Whereas us, bruh, not only have we co-signed her, we've got a full defense force for her. And I'm just thinking, oh my days, aren't there any sort of trial and error testing periods? I mean, what kills me the most is it's supposed to be a certain space, a red pill space where red pill men are supposed to understand female nature. And I'm thinking to myself, at least see exactly what it is when she holds up between certain situations. But it's just like, nah, she's gotten the past, she's gotten co-signed, she's been doing the circuits. And the reason I have to talk about this is because her channels have been up in my feeds every single 5 seconds. If it's not just Pearl Things channel, it's like Red Pearl, it's this other Pearl channel. I'm trying to get, I'm like, stop recommending me these goddamn channels. But every single time I'm on YouTube or something like that, every single offshoot of a channel, she's really blowing herself up. So I just had to the optics. When I saw it, I thought to myself, I think she could have only existed how she existed, A, in the black space, and B, in the UK space. Because I'm sorry, bros, I'm sorry. It just seems to be, I don't know how to even say it. It just seems to be so typical that us over here, everything that we seem to have, we don't seem to want to own it. I'm talking about us as black people in the UK, especially black men, because no matter how small we say that we are, at least can we try and own certain things, at least not try and, for a lack of better word, sell our stuff out to other groups as best as we flipping can, unless it's some sort of hostile takeover. But that wasn't even the case. And I'd have to say this, it's such a bad look on someone like King Riches, who I'm like, listen, I may not agree with everything he says, but at least I respected his viewpoint on being, he said he was his own man. This is one of the things he used to religiously say. He used to say, oh, I don't click up, I don't do this, I'm my own man. I'm like, okay, cool, no problems with that at all. But then when I was here, and I had to double check this, he signed, Purdy Thing signed him. I was like, bruh, how is it possible that you as a content creator who says what you say and believe what you believe, how could you get signed up like that? How can you basically take your lead like that? I mean, I'm like this, bro. You have to drop the king from your name, bro. You have to be just called Richard. You can't be called king anymore, because that's the whole point. You can't be a king if you don't control your own throne. At best, you're a prince. And who's the king? The king's pearly things. And I'm like, bro, the optics. And again, he can do whatever he wants to do. Like, anyone can do whatever they want to do. But when I just look at the optics, I'm like, how do you not see this and see the talking points? I'm like, listen, I think that could have only existed A, in black space, and B, over here in the UK, because it's just symptomatic with every stat that I pull out about everything when it comes to us as black people. I'm like, how is it possible in our own stuff, when it comes to what we should be leading and governing and controlling? It's like, bruh, we give everything away. And I credit just birdie things. I can't even hate on anything. It's not even a hatred thing. It's actually a bravo moment, because what we should have been doing is getting, I say we, let me back up from that. But what should have been a case of black men getting together in that arena, in that space, and controlling it, has now become a situation where she's controlling the situation. She's hiring. The thing is, God, I was watching an interview when she was talking with Jesse Lee Peterson, and she has hired all Africans or all black people in terms of their editors, their people who do the thumbnails, people who do the video chopping, people who manage the channel. I'm like, listen, when I saw a clip where it was just Birdie Things talking to her staff and there's a sea of black people, and I thought to myself, what does this remind you of? This reminds me, this is symbolic of our community and of our countries as a whole, where who owns it, who leads it, not us, but we may look like the face, but we're really not ones pulling any strings. So even though she may say, well, I let them do what they want to do, I let them do this, I let them do that. Well, clearly that can't be the case, because you have to be instructed. You're the ones who are getting paid from somebody else. So who, don't bite the hand that feeds. And when I saw that, I thought, oh man, it just brings the whole leadership conversation into question about how can we say we want to be leaders when a situation like that we ain't leading in, or you aren't leading in. I mean, I'm just like, when I looked at the optics, when I saw the things, I'm like, now a lot of people, again, this is another thing about black men, they've just they've co-signed it, they've said it's not a problem at all. Okay, fair enough. It is what, if that's what you believe, whatever. They've defended her to the hilt. They've said that, oh, she can do what she wants to do, and I'm just like, and these are like the leaders, the pillars of the so-called black manosphere who were saying these things. And I'm thinking to myself, really? After all these years and all this work that you put into it, it's just, oh my days, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And again, I really don't think this would have ever worked on the white side. There's no way near any white content creator could have been signed to her. And it even got me thinking this as well. I'm going to leave off on this, and I'm going to open up the panel. Do you think if Just Birdie Things was black, which if she was a black woman with everything exactly the same, who, according to her own mouth, had just learned about the red pill about 6 months ago, but do you think a black woman who had done that would have worked as well as Just Birdie Things? Because there are black women who are on the same, who taught the same things that Just Birdie Things talks, or at least fosters or facilitates. But do you think she would have blown up in the way that she would have blown up? Do you think she would have not had as much pushback as she would have had if it was a black woman who looked like Just Birdie Things, let's be honest, who had the exact same disposition of Just Birdie Things? Do you really think a black woman would have been able to have infiltrated the space? Or do you think black men would have been the first one to say, who are you? What are you doing here? They would have been literally going through a history, especially some of the stuff that I've heard, apparently that's been talked about. I'm telling you, I don't think there's any way, shape, or form it would have gone like that. But I could be wrong. I don't know. And I'm not saying that there aren't black women content creators out there who aren't big, but you see where Just Birdie Things is. They're calling it the next Kevin Samuels. I mean, this is what black men are saying. She's the next Kevin Samuels. And it's just like, do you even... I'm not even going to get into it. But this is why I got to say, are we more followers than leaders? Because that's a follower's move right there. That's just a follower's move. And I'm not saying you have to always beat out your chest and say things, but it's just like, I don't know. Maybe it's a case where sometimes maybe this is arrogant, and maybe this might be a question I might ask, because I'm going to drop the link in the chat. and this is the question I'll ask, because we talk about selling out and we talk about all this kind of other things, don't we? And if you get to a stage now, would you, I mean, for me, it's all about integrity and credibility, especially for certain situations, because there's certain things which, when you preach about, when you talk about it, you can't be patient unless your patience is tested. You can't be honorable unless your honor is tested. And when it comes to certain tests I see, I'm like, well, come on now. I mean, listen, I'm not saying to try and make it out like I'm, perfect human being. So this ain't that kind of thing. It's just, again, optics. But it's just, I'm trying to think. Could I see myself in a parallel universe in something? I'm trying to think of something which would be the case where I preach against this and then do that. It's just, I don't know, and then still have the same disposition that I did yesterday. But I don't know. It's just, for me, when I see the optics of things, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. But yeah. Links in the chat, people, if you want to come up and have a conversation. I've gone through a few topics, if I'll be honest with you. But ultimately, the question is about leadership. Are we effective? Are we more followers than leaders? What does leaders look like? How do they operate? Because some of the things I'm seeing that our leaders in certain spaces are operating, I just got to think, man, it's just, I just don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Well, I do know what to say, but I'll be nice today. I'll be nice. Jesse, welcome, bro. How's it going?
I'm good. I got a lot to say, man. I got a lot
go
to say.
ahead. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Regarding this, right? The just pearly things, black people being leaders and so on and so forth. Here,
let me ask you this question. Sorry, let me just ask you this just before you go ahead. Do you think, just the question is, do you think black men, especially, are more followers than leaders?
We're followers. Let me explain what I mean by that.
Go ahead.
Right? You see what happened with Wiley, Kyrie Irving, Kyrie Irving, right? Kanye West, all of these various let's say influential figures, right? What I feel is we ain't leaders. The reason why I say we ain't leaders is because we don't own shit, right? The thing is one of the things that people don't understand about leadership, right, or is overlooked, is when you're a leader, you most likely will own shit, right? Us as black people, we want help from others, and we want to take the ride and build upon it, right? Or let's say take the ride and basically prosper from it, right? Because there's a few things that I feel black people should have already established in this country that even is still marketed in various things. And let me explain what I mean by this, right? I say in the chat, it may sound a bit funny. I'm always talking about chicken, right? Fried chicken, various things of that nature, right? I always talk with my friends, always crack with all my friends, my white friends, black friends, Asian friends. We always cracking jokes about fried chicken, right? Black people liking fried chicken, right? This is a fact across let's say black Western countries, that black people like chicken. Now, why is it that we don't own some of these chicken shops? Most of the Asians are the ones that own these chicken shops, is what I've seen. Right, you got Venky's Chicken. That's a place that was owned by an ownership of Blackburn Rovers. I don't know if they still
the Venky's. Yeah, I think they still are the owners. Yeah. The
right, they still own that. This is what I'm saying. We need to start owning our own culture and learn how to monetize it. But other groups do this, right? Example: black people, black women, and black men are some of the best athletes on the planet. We should be having schools to basically improve the athletic ability of some of our black athletes, right? Because we have
something. Sorry to interject, Jess. I want to just put this in there, and you can go away again. Do you think there's a case where other groups market it better? Because again, if you go to like the local food shop, African and Caribbean, we would own that because we would do the takeaways. But in terms of like the marketing and the big ones, like you just mentioned, is it that other groups know how to do it lead better or market things better than we do?
Maybe so, but that again is something that we need to work on if that's the case. You know, like I was saying regarding the athletes, right? The athletic performance of certain black athletes, like all you got to do is look at the optics in terms of, and I know it's a predominantly white country, but if you look at Anthony Joshua, for instance, most of his crew is white, right? Most of his leaders, most of his team, not most of his team, but some of the biggest, let's say, leaders or the most powerful positions in boxing, right, in regards of his team is white, right? If you look at, let's say, if we contrast over and we look at, say, a Floyd Mayweather in the States, the optics are very different. Most of it is very black round, right? You got the generational family, right? You got the you got the Mayweather family, and they got working there. You got a guy, I think his name is called Ellerby, if you know who Ellerby is. Of I think he's one of the overseers at Floyd Mayweather Productions, or TMT, right? And I'm saying is we need to start owning the things that we're good at, right? And the thing is with ownership, you have power, right? This is why I say to myself, like, regarding the black manosphere, right? It's lost all credibility. I can't take the black manosphere seriously. I understand why what's his face, O'Shea Duke Jackson denounced it and left, because he saw the state it was. I left the black manosphere years ago. I even had a movement back there. It was a hashtag movement where I was getting black folks to leave the manosphere, right? And that was called the Black Mano Exit, right? Hashtag Black Mano Exit. If you go on YouTube and type it in, it might be still there. I don't know. But I can't take it serious. And for example, you know, I got love for King Riches, right? I respect what he does and so forth. But I wish him the best. But in my opinion, I'm just saying the optics don't look good. And the reason why the black manosphere has lost complete credibility is the fact is not because of race. It's because you have a woman on there, right, who is trying to change black, or not say black men, but men's issues, right? Another thing as well is for the white manosphere, it looks even bad, is because she's a white woman. Last time I checked, the whole purpose of the black manosphere when it was created, and I was at the manosphere for a long time, was because the black manosphere was created and separated from the white manosphere as a whole because of the racism that some of the black content creators in the manosphere received.
Yeah, I mean,
For example,
I'll say this though.
right?
So good.
Yeah, go on.
I'll say on that note, I'll say this. Yeah, there was separation in regards. I think some of the issues were just different, which they wanted to make sure that was expressed, and the way to do that, from what I understand, was it just became, as most things do. There were black people seem to talk about black issues more than I think white people talk more generally, which you could argue affects more white people. So I think they just wanted to almost have a little bit of distinction, as well as what you said there as well.
Yeah, but
I need to just piggyback on something you said there, and this is what I was gonna again, another question about leadership. Do you think we as a people, do you think the whole could just Birdie Things have been a black man? Could King Richards, could we have had the leadership qualities? Because let's be honest, what Just Birdie Things did is clever, and this goes into leadership, which people don't seem to realize. A good leader is someone who can bring people together.
Right.
And do you think that could have happened had it had been a black man? Or, you see what I'm saying? I mean, for example, to facilitate and bring people together, to get people to work together, or to get people on your same page, that takes that takes great skills. It's difficult.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you think we have the overall capability? Do we think we have that in us to do that? Or did it have
yes,
to
we do. We do. There's already one man, but he could have been the leader or whatever, or you know, in this type of space, it would have been Sarah Garvey. Sarah Garvey was the perfect candidate for it. The dude's intelligent. The dude has his own clan, as he says, right? Various things of that nature. But my problem is there's too many simps, and I'm gonna call them out, black male simps, right? Who are just but mess are basically devaluing their own values for the bag or for female validation, right? Because
Well,
you
even
know,
for God, I don't want to be that guy because again, I don't do this. But even for just pearly things.
yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Because let me say, I ain't got no beef with just pearly things. But
No. I mean, the
yeah,
aesthetic. Again, at the end of the day, I don't think she really wears makeup,
no,
and I
the
don't think
aesthetic
she
don't
does.
look good.
It's like other women. They aesthetically, let's be honest. If we name the names, they look appealing to the eyes, and it's an obvious way to
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? It's not like that. So is it something different then? This is what I kind of want to say.
No, it's just
Okay.
I just think. Look, here's the thing, right? Here's what I noticed, right? The reason why she getting all of this is first she comes from the States, right? First, she's a white woman, she's privileged, she got money as well, right? From the family in the background, right? Another thing as well is I feel certain content creators, or let's say this space, the Black Manosphere, for instance, I think is I feel they need that white validation, and that's what I'm starting to grasp, right? Or I just think it could be that she's just a woman, right? But my issue is there was a great live stream that I watched that I'm gonna be doing another debunk video on the Hafiz and the just pearly things. I'm gonna be doing a debunk video in terms of literally they exposed who they truly are, right? But I'm not going to talk about this here. I'm going to do it on a live stream. And all I'm saying is just pearly things isn't who you think she is.
No, that's
Right?
fair enough.
She's not a traditional woman if you think like in that whole live stream, a whole live stream between her feast and just pearly things went over everybody's heads regarding that, right? Now, my issue is right regarding like the reason why the Black Manosphere, or let's say we are allowed seen as leaders, right, or we are seen as followers, is I just identified who could have been a leader for let's say a Black YouTube space, and that would have been Sarah Garvey. What it's starting to look like now is as if just pearly things is actually leading him.
Well, again, he
Because
was
no,
on her show.
wait. Yeah, go on, go on.
Is he signed to her as well? Do you know?
Huh?
Has Sarah Garvey signed to?
I think so, but I don't know. But you got because the thing is I listened to Sarah Garvey a lot, right? I listened for years. I met the guy in person. I went to what's it? Speaker's Corner when Speaker's Corner was around, right? He said, I remember once he said he had a clan, right? I don't know if you heard a concept clan, basically a black clan, a few black people, right, who think around the same and they basically work together. Since he's joined just pearly things, I ain't seen this black clan anywhere. I ain't even seen his podcast, The Black Opinion, for how many months now? Right?
Do you know what's interesting about that? And I don't know whether it's because I don't know whether it's because the topics or the conversation that he would have on the Black Opinion, it may. I don't know whether it's allowed. Let's just say it that way.
Right. But the thing is what I'm saying is he's meant to be a Pan-Africanist, right? He's meant to be a Pan-Africanist. That's what he said. He's a pantheist / Pan-Africanist, right? And he said he has his own separate channel. And I don't see any of this black stuff. I don't see any of this black opinion anymore on this channel. And he's identified as a Pan-Africanist. Right?
That's interesting.
This is the thing I'm trying to point out. It's like certain people out here are not being authentic, right? They're selling out, and I'm not saying they're selling out for the black community. It's actually for themselves, their own values, to basically seek clout. Because even like, for example, King Riches, right? Again, I ain't got no hate, but we got to look at the truth, right? I'm a truth-based person. I've always heard about right, and basically stuff, right? about him basically owning stuff and being your own boss, right? Now, let me get this straight. How can you have power if someone already owns you?
It's a question. That is the
You
question.
can't. You can't
Now
have power.
you will have certain elements of power because
Right.
again, for example, you can give power to someone that's your remit to control. But I know what you're saying.
Right.
Overall, I know what you're saying. Though I know what you're saying.
The
It'll be limited power.
The true way to have power is through ownership, right? This isn't a book. If you read I've read books on wealth and how to build wealth, and I'm currently in the process of building wealth, right? That's the reason why people don't see my face, right? I read a book called The Fast Lane Millionaire, right? There's two things you need to have wealth and power. You need control and you need ownership. If someone owns you, or someone and someone has control over you because you're on their pay salary, you're just a passenger. You can't truly direct your own, let's say, your own values, or you can't truly direct your true calling, right? Because you have someone who's steering the direction for you, right? Now, again, right? I look at the optics again, right? I would say black men are more followers than leaders because, in my opinion, right, based off this space, the two most, I would say, influential people who talk about, kind of red pillish stuff is Sarah Garvey and King Riches, right? And who signed them up? Just Pearly Figs.
And
See,
the thing
people got to really check the optics, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just it seemed, again, I don't know the conversations in the background, but I thought he would have been like the last person to have signed with it. I would have thought if so, it would have been a case where just Pearly Things had signed damn near everyone on their roster, and at that point it would have been like, okay, I concede. But it seemed as if he was so quick to do it, because I do remember this one live in which he was complaining because, and he's fair to say this, that he didn't get the support he think he deserved, the sub that he think he deserved. Like, if he was over in the US and like Fresh and Fit was using example, he would have been a bit bigger. He thinks the UK's too cliquey. He was making a bit of a rant, which he's justified to do.
Right.
So I was like, okay, fair enough then. I thought at least he would have been the last person, at least, to almost sell the title deeds to who he is in this respect. I thought it would have been everyone else would have gone. Then he would have been like, all right, fine. But he seemed to be so quick, and it leads me to this question.
Yep.
I know the question. Are we men more hypergamous? Because that's kind of a hypergamous move.
It
Go
is.
to someone who's got more clout. I'm going to cuff myself to somebody who's got more clout in order for me to get more clout. That's a hypergamous move.
I would say it is clout, and I try to say this so many times. Certain YouTubers, I won't say YouTubers, I'll say certain black men, right, and some black women, but I can't talk for black women because I don't see this happening here so far, right? Like, for example, I could give you a contrast of differences. I think ZZ Mills owns her own shit. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know about that. Is that right?
I think she does own her own shit. ZZ Mills owns her own stuff. She has her own studio. I know that she had a podcast that was on Amazon Prime, right? And I think she's right. She's doing well for herself. I got basically a family member who knows her personally, right? And basically, like, everything, when I listen to ZZ Mills, she talks about ownership, and basically that's the reason why she's in the powerful position she is because she owns everything. Now, King Richards, for instance, he has a point, right? He has a point regarding, and I agree, because I've known this dude for years, right? I've done collaborations with him. I've been on podcasts with him with like O'Shea and things of that nature. I've always tried to explain to him is that you've also got to watch out for the YouTube community guidelines, right? The reason why King Richards isn't as successful is because he's very entertaining, right? And I told him this behind the scenes. You gotta be careful with some of the stuff you're saying in regards and not trigger the community guidelines, because there was a time where he got demonetized, right? And he got very annoyed. And I said, look, there's certain things you're doing on there that, you know, is basically against the community guidelines, and basically his channel got basically screwed, right? Now, there was another good video. Another thing as well with some of these black content creators is I don't think they do enough research on YouTube in terms of, or invest enough in themselves regarding YouTube, in regards of how to actually build a YouTube channel, what it is. The only person I've ever heard talk about investing in themselves to become a better YouTuber was O'Shea Duke Jackson.
I'll say this to that. I have heard Chaos say that, and I think his response, and it's a fair response, was when other content creators who blown up and have not needed a half of what other people have needed. So sometimes I hear what you're saying, investment, but sometimes it just depends. You can have the nicest studio, you can have the nicest mics, you can have the nicest camera work, but sometimes it just doesn't connect for whatever reason. But ultimately, sometimes you're right. You do need it's that balancing act.
I hear that, but it's also not just about the equipment. It's about understanding how the algorithm works, how SEO works, thumbnails, titles, all of that stuff. That's what I'm really more talking about. And you know, that's where I would say black content creators needs to focus on and understand, because the black content creators that are winning, I noticed that they're talking a lot about investing themselves in all aspects of YouTube, right? O'Shea Duke Jackson's a prime example. You know, even the guy, if you know who the Angry Man is.
Yep.
Angry Man channel. He's another dude that's do well, but his channel got striked a few times. I think I think some of it has got to do with him, right?
So let me pivot to this, Jessica. I just want to get back to the leadership sort of angle of the topic, and because there's a comment in the chat which was very interesting, which kind of where I think a lot of us as people are, and I think this is kind of a Sam, you put this on here about even if there was a black PM, the establishment itself and the system behind it wouldn't change anything. And do you know what I think? I think a lot of people get discouraged. I think this is what I want to say. I think a lot of black men get discouraged from going into leadership positions because the system wouldn't change. And this is sort of the thing where I wanted to pivot to this. Is the reason why we're more followers than leaders is because maybe we get a bit too discouraged about going up into those senior positions because we're going to be seen as a token, or B, as Sam has said, the system wouldn't change and the establishment would stay the same. So do we become a bit discouraged a little bit too easy?
I will say this, right? Because I've experienced this a little bit, right? Obviously not as prime minister of the country, obviously. But the thing is like, the reason why there's so much discouragement amongst the black community is because it's a double-edged sword, right? And let me explain what I mean by this. Is if you're a black guy and you're successful, right? For example, recent example, Kwasi Kwarteng, right? You're not black, you're superficially black, you're a coon, you're this, you're that, right? So you're shamed for doing well, right? You're shamed for basically doing well. Or if you are very educated, or you're basically seen as a token and various things of that nature, right? First off, we got to do it first, right, to see what the outcome is so we can get some data. That's the first thing, right? It's all good being discouraged and so on and so forth. There's a lot of every race have probably had a situation where they had to do something new which was discouraging, and they did it anyway, right? So that's something that black people gotta understand. Now, the other thing as well is, because in the black community, let's say negativity or the underbelly of the black community is brought up to the forefront, and is praised, for example, criminals, rappers, all of that stuff, right? Now you're seen as so-called black, which is nonsense, right?
But so, you know what, on that, this is where I'm going to say this, because again, Wiley, Kanye, Kyrie Irving, even like Nick Cannon, he was, again, all these are entertainers, you know,
right?
And I'm thinking to myself, they've shown themselves to be more followers than anything, because the way how they move, the way how they've acted. I mean, I don't know. For me, I see them more as followers because of how they've got to the situation. But it's fascinating how we view things. But continue.
Yeah, like they are all followers, and these people are wealthy, right? So it's in the mindset, and like I said, right, you can't win you can't win if you're successful as a black man in the UK, because you'll be basically seen as a sellout. You'll be ostracized from your own community, right? If you're doing very, very well, right, and you have different, let's say you have different talking points,
You think
right?
so? I think this is a bit of an old talking point, which I might have to do a little bit of topic on this a little bit, because I think this is a typical go to. But I'm like, for example, the conversation I had with the men and people in the men and women on just on this small sample size
Right.
there's surely a larger sample size of different thinking, quote unquote, black people. So I don't know. I always think again, it goes back to the comment that I highlighted from Sam, where it's like, do we think that we're going to get perceived negatively, so we don't seem to put ourselves out
No,
there?
we are. I
It's
would
only-
say we are, because
okay.
it's like black people, right? Not all, but in my opinion, we have a lot of focus for the Europeans in terms of slavery and the history we had against each other, right? There's a really contrasting, very interesting contrasting interview on Channel 4, right? It was between a rapper called Marcy Phoenix and Kwasi Kwarteng, right? And he was talking about Rinrush. It was about the Rinrush situation. Don't know if people seen that. And basically, he was saying to Kwasi Kwarteng, literally on the thing, is like, you're not one of us,
Oh,
right?
is that what we said? I need to go have a
Yeah,
look at that then.
right. Go type in Channel 4, Windrush, Kwasi Kwarteng. This was when I think he was the Secretary of Business at the time,
Right.
right? And he said, like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not one of us, yada, yada, yada. Like, you're not from where I'm from. I'm like, I'm looking at both of these people talking, and brother, you're both black.
Yeah, but was
So
that a racial issue? Was that a
I think
sort
it
of
was
elitist
I think it
issue?
was racial and class as well at the same
Okay.
time,
Okay.
right? And this is the stuff I'm talking about, is like, it's a class, yeah, class plays a role in it, right? But how many times have you seen, like, if a black person does something positive, do they get the recognition, or do they get celebrated as, let's just say, the negative type of individual? And all you got to do is just look around, right? You, like, for example, if you're a black kid and you come out of university and you do well and you qualify, right? Do you get celebrated as well as, say, the black guy that comes out of jail?
I mean, we'll come back to that. Let's hold that for. Let me go to Fiona. So, Fiona, welcome. Hope you're doing well.
Hi, Wim. How are you?
Yeah, doing well today.
Good,
Yeah.
good. It's lovely to speak to you. It's been a long time. Hi, Jesse. Since
Hello.
spoken to you since yesterday.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, thanks for having me up. I just wanted to make
First question is before.
yeah.
I have to ask all my panelists: do you think black men are more followers than leaders, or vice versa?
I would say followers. I would say. And I think in terms of Kanye and all of the other men who basically ruined or self-sabotaged their own careers, I think it was to do with acceptance and not feeling as though they truly belong in that space. And I think that's really sad, as you said, and as Jesse was saying.
Fair. But yeah, go ahead. You wanted to say something anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make a brief point. I won't be up here long, but just to say that I actually think that we should have been PM, or that one of a black person should have been PM, because I think we've kind of paved the way for a lot of other minorities here through sheer brute force. I know that Asians and South Asians and West Indians or Caribbeans came pretty much around the same time to the UK. But I really think we have earned our place, and I really think that it should have been someone that looks like us. But that's just my personal opinion. The other thing I wanted to say is that I think I mentioned in the chat that the only way that we'd have a black prime minister in this country is if they had a black partner. I strongly believe that. I think that people would respect them more, because who would respect someone who doesn't respect their own reflection? And I think that's really important. I know it's entertainment, but if we use Love Island, for example, on that show earlier this year, they asked the British public to choose people who, each person should partner up with. And we saw what happened. They chose like for like. And I really think that, that would garner them more respect in the long run. I know that a lot of people in the chat are going to be, saying, oh, it's not all about race and things. But I think optics is very, very important, as you said. And I really think that would make a difference, even if it's a biracial person with a black partner. I really think that that would build a level of trust, and that people would respect that a lot more. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
It's interesting because it seems as if, and this is probably legacies of a bygone, well, not bygone, but legacies of, you could argue, colonialism, or just white supremacy, if you want to call it that way, or critical race theory. But in terms of politicians, and to your point about would it be a stronger optics wise, would it be better if it was a like for like partner? It feels as if it's the other way around. It seems like a lot of black men and even black women, like Kemi Badenoch, her partner's white. It seems to me like, I don't know whether they feel as if they need to fit in, therefore I need a partner who...
That's my whole point.
Okay.
That's their perception, but it's not what the public want. And I think this is where we're getting ourselves confused. I actually think the public would appreciate more if... or would have more respect if it was that they had a black partner. Same thing with Obama, everyone loved him. I know we're talking about the States, but I just think that there would be a certain amount of respect shown if that was the case. I've got nothing against IR or anything like that. I think everyone knows I've kind of changed my position around that, so it's not a problem. But I just think that that's the optics, and would be better if that were the case.
No, I hear what you're saying. And to be fair, there are slick comments from white people who do seem to think, ones who are up there as the leaders, and they say a lot of things to say about, racial inequality, that, there's not racial inequality or when it comes to your partner selection or whatnot. So I do hear the slick comments. So maybe there is something about public perception about, as opposed to what we perceive to be what they would want, as opposed to what they think is best or what they would think is more befitting. Because, I hear what you're saying with that.
I just wanted to make a comment about Pearly things. I mean, I don't really know much about her channel. I do see like clips, but she doesn't seem to be talking specifically about black issues. Am I missing something? Or is it just that she has a panel that talk about general things, or is it that she speaks specifically to I know that I've seen on KR's channel that he seems to speak generally about body count, but it's not necessarily color or culture specific. I don't know, maybe it's coded and I can't tell, but what I can see.
I could answer that, right? She don't specifically talk about black stuff, but it's the black people sometimes on that panel that brings it up, right? Just look at her content. The thing you're missing is regarding the Black Manosphere. The Black Manosphere basically claimed her and basically said she's now the leader of the Black Manosphere. The proof of that is by Obsidian Ali, a YouTuber called Obsidian, Amuma Ali, and then there's a few other YouTubers who've done it too. Right, basically claimed her, which I just find it odd. I can't take the Black Manosphere seriously anymore because of it. It's lost all credibility, and I will say that there's certain things that are, but this is why I'm going to do a live stream about this. So
I mean, it sounds as though the language might be coded. So when KS used to talk about modern women, we all knew that that was code for black women, right? So it sounds as though it might be something similar coming from her, but because she doesn't want to be classified as a racist or something like that, that she's using coded, modern women
Modern women isn't code name for black woman. Modern woman's just basically.
Well, I think it was in the end. The kind of things that he was describing and the stereotypes that he was using for modern women.
Aimed to, and this is where I think, answer your question, Fiona, where just pearly things comes into it. It's a case where even her references, or cultural references, are all really like black culture. She went on Kevin Samuels' show, actually, funny enough, before, and then she reacted to Kevin Samuels. She has a very, it's a very black culture centric sort of viewpoints that she has. So, I think the whole thing is more coded than anything. You would almost call it like a culture vulture.
I mean, and I've got nothing against the girl. I mean, I could see myself probably going out with her for drinks, and she could attract. She could attract the black. I could attract the black guys to her, and she could attract the others to me. So, fair exchange is no robbery. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Let me pivot on Thomas now. Thomas, welcome, bro. How are you doing this evening?
What's up, bro? How are you?
Yeah, doing well. You?
Bro, I'm just coping right now. I just have Caribbean food. So,
oh, heavy food, eh?
Oh my goodness, my body's on breakdown mode at the moment, but I'm coping.
All right, I see. All right, first question I have to ask you is this: do you think black men are more followers than leaders?
Yeah, to be honest, yes. I believe that. I said the majority, but there are some who are considered as leaders. I honestly think the reason why majority of black men don't want to be leaders because they have a defeated mentality. Now, if you saw on the live chat, Brother Wim, I was being realistic when I said most likely we'll never see a black PM. It's not going to happen because the reason why I say this is because black people are not as competitive in the political arena. We don't have any economical power. So how can we reach the highest level of governmental office? It's not. I'm just being realistic. And they're just like majority of them. They don't want to be leaders because if you say the truth, you'll be deemed as a sellout or artificially black.
Now, I just want to go back to that because Jesse brought up the same point, and I was saying there's a lot of, again, this channel is just a little small sample size, or even in my daily life when I speak to some black men and black people, do you still see that as being a heavy barrier still to this day, or is it just we look at the very loud minority who seem to share these viewpoints? What do you think?
Repeat the question again, bro. Repeat it again.
Do you know what you were saying that black people don't seem to prioritize good standards? That's what you're trying to say, isn't it? Black people like degeneracy or whatnot. Do I understand? Yeah. Is that still a big thing, or is that just a very loud minority, which is why people are discouraged from going into political arena to be called a sellout, for example? Is that just a small vocal minority?
Nah, because based on what I've seen, and it's very, very concerning. It's been the majority. Now I'm gonna have to be specific, Brother Win. I'm a conservative, right? The people who are complaining the most about if you support Brother Kwasi Kwarteng, you're a sellout, you're artificially back. Those are liberals, bro. Those are liberals. Majority of black people in the UK are liberals, and they say the most noise.
In defense, Thomas, that was an Asian woman who brought that up. I don't think any of us brought that up. If you see what I mean.
No. I've heard black people, which is really alarming, bro. Like you would think you have an educated brother, conservative, positive image. You're gonna call him an Oreo or Malteser. all because he's not, all because he speaks proper and he's married to a white woman. Why does that matter? But onto that Asian woman, yeah, what she said was extremely racist, in my opinion. She should have been sacked.
No, I hear you, bro. I hear you, bro. Now, so just before I go to Zuli, then, so in regards to leadership, then, and because I think we think leadership is always just about do you believe ownership is the key to leadership? Number one.
Yeah, I do think so because I mean the reason why Rishi Sunak was favored to be prime minister was because Asians have a lot of ownership in the UK. I mean, look at all of the corner shops, the chicken and chip shops. I mean, when it comes to hair and beauty shops in the UK, mostly owned by Asians, so they have that economic power. I mean, when you look at some of the IT companies, because I am an IT professional myself, I've seen Asians dominating. So they have that sense of ownership and they've have transitioned that into political leadership. And we've seen a lot of Asian politicians in parliament. So it makes sense. I think that's the only logical path, to be honest.
No, it's fair because a lot of them, to get into those positions, they seem to be either independently wealthy or they've sent their kids to good schools, which you need a bit of money to do that. So, no, I hear what you're saying there. It's getting better, but a lot of them are still, privately educated. So it's a hell of a lot to send your kids through that kind of schooling system.
Yeah. Brother, regarding just pearly things, I'm gonna say something controversial. I know that's my new catchphrase.
Wendy never, I'm thinking.
I honestly think, now, hear me out, people. Some of these black YouTubers that you've seen on Just Pearly Things podcast, I honestly think they sold out.
Thank you.
I honestly think they sold out because I'm looking at brother Sarah Garvey, man. Where is the Black Opinion podcast? I used to be a daily. I'm a moderator for him. I moderate his live streams whenever he does the Black Opinion. It's now non-existent, bro. Because this brother always spoke about black issues, and I always supported him, but I don't see it anymore. Just like Auntie Jenny, for example, she used to be on the Black Opinion as well. Now she has her own YouTube channel, all because of Just Pearly. And I'm like, why would the Black Manosphere call this Snow Bunny the next KS? To me, brother, that's absolutely insulting to KS's memory. You've allowed this. Brother, can I be frank? I know it's Sunday. Can I be brutally frank?
Floor is all yours, bro. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you. She is 6'3". Yeah, she's a volleyball player, but this chick is painfully average. I have no idea why black men in the manosphere are simping for a plain Jane. It is beyond me, bro. I'm like, she's already hit the wall. And she's saying nothing new. She's using all the talking points from KS, Fresh and Fit. And I wonder why she didn't bring Fresh and Fit onto her podcast. Because she doesn't like Fresh and Fit.
Does she not?
Because, no, she hates Fresh and Fit because she knows that if she brought Fresh and Fit to her podcast, when Fresh and Fit were in the UK, she would have got absolutely destroyed. And there's another thing, bro. Why does she talk about the passport bros? She knows she'll get destroyed. That's why she's selective on who she chooses, bro. She says things that black men want to hear instead of what they need to hear. That's what I've noticed. And she talks about conservatism, how her family was traditional. I'm sorry, but you don't practice what you preach. If you call yourself a conservative woman, yeah, how come you're not married? She stated that she's a liberal, so I don't think she's in a position to talk about, traditional women when you're not a good example yourself.
Right.
But brother, in my opinion, brother, she's a grifter at the end of the day, and she's making money of it.
Hey, listen, I can't fault her business acumen at all. So sometimes I say this: listen, if she's cleaning up and that's what seems to be the case, and that's a grift, then who do you blame? Do you blame her? Do you blame the people who are
I
following?
blame the simps, these so-called manosphere black men, these red pill guys. Like, why have you accepted her? And the thing is, brother, yeah, I know the manosphere is for entertainment, but they've gone against everything they've stood for. And they don't like solutions. That's why I support the SYSBM and Passport Bros, because those are logical solutions. These red pill black men in the manosphere, they're just like talking about issues, being comfortable in problems. That's why I'm not a part of that, bro.
Okay, no, fair enough. We'll come back to that because there are a couple of things I wanted to ask you. But let me head over to Zulia. Zulia, how's it going, bro?
Yo, I'm in the car. Is the sound okay?
It is okay, but we can tell you in the car. We'll rock with it. Let's go.
Okay. Well, basically, I caught the first 5 minutes, and you're talking about just pearly things and our black men followers. That's the general theme of the show.
Yeah, as well as PM leadership, but yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Yeah, black men as a whole in the West, we are not leaders. We do not lead our own families. We do not lead our own jobs. We are not leaders. We don't see ourselves as leaders. We don't want to be leaders. We don't like thinking about tangible solutions. We don't like putting our feet to the fire and dealing with uncomfortable truth. And the fact of the matter is, we are not respected as leadership by our own children, by our own women, and by society at large. So the answer is no. Black men are not leaders in the West. And it's funny you guys mentioned Myron from Fresh and Fit. It's so funny that guy has a ruling class mentality. We don't have a ruling class mentality. ABBA from ABBA and Peach, probably because he's Ethiopian, they have more inherent self-esteem. They see themselves as being able to be in leadership positions, and they can be owners and writers of their own check. We don't have that. We're a group of people, I'm talking about West African descent and West Africans born in the West, the people who have been removed of pride and shame. It is a disgrace that a white chick is acting as an intermediary or a mediator or therapist for a group of people that she doesn't even belong to. It's a disgrace and embarrassment. And to be honest, in other cultures, they would honor kill your fucking ass for doing that. But because you live in a society, in a group of people who don't have any standards and don't like any sort of cultural protocol, shit like this slides, and people just ball up right in there. Like a whore's legs or a whore's vagina, just ball up right in there. That's my piece.
Wow, Zulia, man, you come out firing, man. I'm telling you, you come out firing now. You put.
Well, I just finished 12-hour shift.
Yeah, man, bro. I don't know if you're driving or whatnot. If you say you're driving, but yeah, make sure you don't crash or anything. But no, man, you're coming out with that heat. And let me ask the panel a question now. We'll open up the panel to what Zulia said, because I've sort of preached about code and how is it possible that we can allow. It's not just about her. It's about Murad Morale. Do you remember him? On the woman's side, that Ruba's a man. We have even the chicken shop lady. There's so much things which I see, which I'm like, do people not clock this? And of course, it's a free. They can do what they want to do, but do people not clock how easy it is for it seems that other groups to do these things? Where regardless of whether you think it's strictly for black people, it is. Let's be honest, it really is a black demographic that it caters towards. Do people not see a problem with that? But it's like when you bring it up, you're seen as you're hating, you're racist, you this. Like, it's not about racism. It's just optics.
Brother, let me explain. Brother,
Go ahead.
This is why, I can't take liberal black people seriously, bro. It's mostly them. What I have seen is this. Black people want to be accepted. They would rather be accepted rather than respected. I don't care if you don't like me, but you all respect me. Most black people who collaborate with Just Pearlies, they want to be accepted. They want to be liked. They want to have that validation. That's it. That's it. Like, how can you say we should have a black PM when the majority of people don't respect black people? Most black people fulfill the negative stereotypes. In order for a black person to reach the highest political position, there needs to be a community. Do we have a community, Wim?
Well, it's I'll say no.
Thank you.
Maybe in Hugh, but I suppose but it's just no.
Thank you, bro. That answers everything. Asians have a community. Hence, Rishi Sunak is the prime minister.
Now, let me say this. Let me again to you, Thomas, and to everyone else and ask this question. Then, do you respect black men yourself? Do you respect black men?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, do you respect them if from like a leadership standpoint? Would you respect a black man in leadership? Because I always get a little bit of hint when I'm not saying you believe this, Thomas, but almost as if you kind of have a little bit of a lack of I don't know if it's respect for us as a people, but I just wanted to ask in terms of black men, do you have that kind of level of respect for them, or is it only reserved for certain select black men, if that makes sense?
That's it, bro.
Right.
I have respect for conservative black men who speak nothing but the truth, black men who have STEM degrees, who have a business degree, black men who've been, these type of black men, my conservative brothers, they've been seen as sellouts. I've been called a sellout all because I speak proper, all because I dress professionally. I don't follow the stereotype. I've gone against what has been perceived as black. No, those black men who are doing the right thing, those are the men who should be leaders, who deserve to be leaders. But
the reason I asked that question is just because, and maybe I probably used the wrong word, but even if it's someone who's not conservative, I use David Lammy as an example. Would you respect someone like David Lammy if he was a leader?
No, because
he doesn't get up to foolishness, He doesn't. As soon as I'm aware in terms of his history, I don't see him get up to foolishness. So I just want to see. I know you like conservative black men, but no.
But because the thing is, listen, he just has a victim mentality, bro. This man has a victim mentality. If he wasn't a victim, bro, I would respect him more. If he gave me, honesty, I would respect him more. But because he has a victim mentality, I can't respect that because that's not how I was raised. Yes, all black people have had adversity. But should you allow that to define yourself? That's what David Lammy's done, brother Wim.
Okay, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I suppose for me, it's a case of at least the man, the position, how he occupies, that kind of stuff. I know we get into the weeds and about this political, if he's a victim, his victim mentality. But I suppose as like a black man, because I think this is where I see things why there's more killings between black men. There's a lot more strife just because I think there's a lack of respect. And that could be because we lack of respect from our elders. I know a lot of them aren't wise, but I just think there's a connection there. I don't know if anyone else feels that.
Yes,
or sees that. We have a lack of respect for black men. Just, you know what I mean? And it could be something, it may be trivial. We lack respect. That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Brother, do you think, now this may sound controversial, do you think our elders has failed us?
I think they've done... There's some days I get like, yes, I'm like, they failed us. I'm not gonna lie to you, but there's some days I think maybe they did the best in the circumstances that they endured, and maybe we need to step up as ourselves and be that case of, okay, then who's gonna be that generation to move us forward? Because someone has to sacrifice. And I was gonna do a live stream on this about, we talk about our elders not doing this and that and the other, and they can only do what they could do. They've handed the baton on to us. Now the question is, what do we need to do? How quickly do we need to catch up in the relay race? And I think maybe, again, it all goes to respect. I think because of that, because a lot of us have that viewpoint, we lack respect towards our elders, especially black men. That's why I understand that, we not like our position, but I just think there's maybe a lack of respect there for people
Can I
who paved
jump
the
in?
way. Go ahead. Open panel. Go ahead.
So I just want to say something. You know, the thing I don't understand about black men as a whole, and it's something that I work on a lot. I think Falcon has it too. It's this thing where you're willing to die, and I know that sounds crazy, and you're probably wondering what that means. Why would you want to live as a slave or live on your knees as die as a man? In other words, what the hell do we have to lose in terms of trying to achieve, in terms of trying to take risks legally, right? We have nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. So you might as well go out flat out and go and put everything on the line and give it everything you have. Because literally we're in the 12th round of our time in the West. I don't think this is a code red. The way things are in the UK for black people as a whole is a code red. The way things are going, people don't even have enough money or knowledge of their ancestral homeland to even escape. That's how bad it's getting. And if this country does get poorer, and we already are on the lower rung financially, right? What the hell is there going to be left for us to even escape with? That's how bad it is. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate that. And I think as a people, the IQ thing, I'm going to put that aside. But I'll say this right now. We have a low tolerance for mental pain or discipline or sacrifice. The whole bit of discomfort or mental discomfort, right? Sacrifice. We don't have it as a group. Now, not everyone, but I'm just saying we don't have the ability to put it all on that type of Malcolm X, Khalid Muhammad, do or die. You know how these white people are, these Nordics, they've got this ice cold look in their eyes, like, motherfucker, I will put you into a gas chamber and systematically eliminate your people, and you won't even know it's happening to you. That type of cold, stoic, emotionless type of edge, we don't have it. You know how our parents always used to say that white man will go and climb Mount Everest and then go swim across the Atlantic Ocean all by the end of the day. Or they'll die trying. You know what I mean?
No, I do. It's like they go into space. They will tame a line where we're like, man, why you tame that? Get away from the line. They will die. Steve Irwin, he died trying to swim with, what was he swimming with? Stingray, whatever it is. I hear what you're saying there. So, okay, to the panel then. Based on Zulia's assessment, do you agree with what Zulia's saying there?
Yeah, pretty much. I pretty much agree. Because again, this victim mentality, we have so many inner demons. We blame the white man for everything. The white man did this, the white man did that. But we don't take any accountability. Like, I started to, brother, I'm saying this right now, but I have to be honest. Because the space I'm in, yeah, I take full accountability, and I want to be great. I'm in that progress of becoming a great person, because I'm helping like-minded black men who are in IT. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a difference in my field. But for some black men, they just don't care. They want to accept failure.
Now, is that because, I know Zuli didn't want to put, is that because we predispose? Listen, no one likes a hard life. Sacrifice is something that Zuli said, and I agree with here. Or is it because are we scared of sacrifice? Is it too hard to sacrifice?
Yes.
What is it? Yeah?
Yeah.
The reality is we just...
So let me get Jesse in. Sorry.
Yeah, Thomas was going to speak.
No, Jesse, you go ahead, because Thomas is sort of answered
me,
and then I'll pivot back. Don't worry about it.
The reality is just like, we just don't want to put in the work in it. Like, that's just what it is, right? We see that, yeah, we're like behind by quite a bit, and the fact is, we just don't want to put in the work, right? We don't want to go like heads and beyond. We just want to be at the finishing line where everyone's built everything and we're there to just take the ride. That's really what it is, right? That reflection is even like shown in the YouTube space, right? It's like people don't want to put in the work, right? And that's just really that, and like I said, that's why I say black men are just followers. We will follow. We will sometimes discard our own values for better clout, because we know in a way we've kind of found a shortcut because we don't have to put in the work, and that's just really what it is. Because the reality is if black men was really the leaders, right, and there was so black male leadership, the black community wouldn't be in the state it is in now, right? The reality is if you look at the communities that are prospering, right, they have strong leadership, right? I could look at the Muslim community, right, in the UK, right? I could already pick out 3 names right out the hat who are influential Asian or Muslim leaders, right? You got your Ali Dawah, you got your Muhammad Hijab, you have the other Muslim, I forgot the other Muslim guy. Is it Majid? Not Majid. It's another guy, I can't remember his name. But you have them people there. You could say, yeah, you could look and say, yeah, we're leaders, right? You could look at the British community. You could probably get a few British people out there. You could say, yeah, those people are leaders. They're the ones leading, their own community, right? You could even go and say as far as Tyson Fury is one of them, right? Because he talks up about, sometimes white issues, even though he's a gypsy, right? You can look around for us, like, who could we really say, yeah, like, this is a defined leader who we can say, yeah, this person's actually someone that is a representation of black leadership. Not much.
What? Sorry, brother. I'll give you an answer. They'll look to people like KSI or
right,
flipping Deji. I'm like, with this stupid YouTube boxing nonsense.
Right, they're leaders, but they're not. Well, the thing, I don't really call them leaders. They're just entertainers, right?
Yeah.
The thing is those people there, they are not characteristically seen as leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like Stormzy, I'm sorry, I don't see you as my leader, bruh.
Exactly.
Like if I saw Stormzy,
this was going to ask, do you, and this is where it comes back to the respect. Do you respect at least the work he's done a little bit in terms of? I know you don't respect his line of work, but do you respect the work that he did in regards to the scholarships to go to Cambridge?
I will say this.
Yep.
Right, because some people think, it's all about going down, like putting down the black race or whatever. I'm gonna say I just talk facts, right? I respect anyone who puts in work, right, and gets benefits from it or has shown to add value in other people's lives, right? That's why I say, okay, I respect just Pearly Things' work, right? Fair enough, she put in the work, she got her fair dues, cool. That's why I ain't got no problem with her, right? Stormzy, I ain't got a problem with Stormzy, but I just don't see you as my leader. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Stormzy got to do what Stormzy got to do for himself, right? But the thing is the problem with Stormzy, right? He was so quick to jump on Chris Cabba's case, and now we see what Chris Cabba was really about previously. You know what I'm saying? This is another thing with some of us, right? We get too emotional and we don't look at the actual evidence and the stats and the statistics before we actually jump onto something, right? Same thing with George Floyd. Yeah, what happened to George Floyd was unfortunate, but we got to admit there's certain things that played into the part of why he got into that situation. Same thing with Chris Cabba. Same thing with all these other, some of these unarmed black men that you've seen getting killed in America, right? So,
you know what I want to say to that, because this goes back to a little bit of the Kanye, Wiley, Kyrie Irving, and how I've been scanning the space, even the right wing Jewish media, Jewish personalities and whatnot, like Ben Shapiro.
Right.
And one thing that they do is that they don't come out and say, we don't want him cancelled. What are you doing? That's a leftist approach. They are quiet, even if they may agree with the whole we don't like cancel culture. Why? But they seem to stay on code. I'm trying to think of any single Jewish person, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here on the panel, who's come out in support of any of those individuals and says, you know what, he's right.
None of them.
Even if factually they may be right. So what I'm trying to say is, why is it that we seem to be, and again, this goes back to how we're probably not a community to even do this with, but when it comes to any issue that we have, even when it's something that we're like, okay, that's probably wrong, we always seem to be one of the ones to come out and say, no. Whereas the Jewish
the reason why
they just stand by, they just don't say anything.
Right. The reason why is with the black community, or say black people, we see color first. We don't see morals. We don't see values. We don't see actions first. Some of us, if we see a black person, they're immediately a victim, and that's that. That's just how it is, right?
What
We
I'm trying
don't
to say
look
though, Jesse, sorry, what I'm trying to say is the Jews saw what they posted as that's an attack on us.
right.
Whether it wasn't or not, whether you want to say that's that was fair or foul, they're like, no, we don't care. As soon as you come after us, everything else don't even matter. Whereas when it comes to the opposite end, again, someone actually physically died, and it's just like, regardless of someone may have a sketchy past, you're thinking, does that
Right.
warrant someone being killed?
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean? It's like, whereas if you come at their history or anything, they will not tolerate that. I'm just thinking, it's like they stay on code. We don't seem to have a code, and it just gets broken dead quickly. That's what it seems like to me.
Right. Well, the reason why it seems that way is because we got somewhat self-hatred. We got self-hatred. Just let's just keep it real. A lot of black people, black men and black women don't get along. Right? We don't get along. There's a reason why the state of the community is the way it is. Right? We don't get along. Right? The statistics reflect that. Right? There isn't much love in the community, in my opinion. Yeah, we'll have a few fragmentations of a few people here and there, but the reality is because we don't own stuff, right? Again, this goes back to ownership and leadership. To have ownership, you got to be a leader, right? Is because we don't own stuff and we don't have any power, we are at the beckoning call of other people. Once you have that, they have control over you, and you have to basically you have to, let's say, bend your values so that you can keep the bag or stay relevant, right? And this is the case with, a lot of blacks. For example, even like the wealthy blacks, like the difference between most wealthy whites and wealthy blacks is blacks building their wealth off other people, but wealthy whites own their stuff when they build in wealth, right? And that's the difference. This is why a Curry Irvin, or whatever his name is, that's the reason why he can get cancelled, and the reason why he gets muffled, and now he has to apologize. This is why Kanye West, even though yes, he does own certain things, right? He's been taken away from Adidas, right? Wiley, I would say Wiley's very different because I think most of the stuff he owns, right? So they can't really touch him financially. That's why I say Wiley, even though he got cancelled by social media, they ain't really touched his pockets like that, right? So that's why I say it's the difference is you got to look at the optics, and that's why Jewish people will stay in code and blacks won't, because Jews own their own stuff, right? Blacks don't, so they have to stay like blacks have to literally bend the knee. Other groups of people don't, based on how they own stuff. That's why DJ Vlad, right? He could say some controversial stuff in the black community in the US, right, and still be relevant because he even talked about how people can't touch him financially. So that's really what it is.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go on, Zulia.
It's just the same stuff. We all know the reasons why, but how are we going to change this? How are we going to change this? How are we going to get a ruling class mentality? How are we going to become heads of households? Obviously, black men, black women, there's some issues there, but I go back and ask you, if you're a woman who comes from another one of these functional communities, what the hell do you get by being of a black man? And I've always asked this question because back in my days when I was dating in London, yeah, I've dated a range of women, Iraqi, I think there's some, Singapore, right? And they all said the same shit. Oh, black guys are fine to look at, but my family would never accept because they're poor, right? So why would, if your own women aren't respecting you enough to submit to you, other groups of men aren't respecting to you and submitting to you, why would a woman, think about this carefully, why would a woman of another race be able to be submissive? So this whole conservative women, yeah, they can be conservative women, but for their own men. You see what I'm saying? I just don't understand. So it sort of goes to Thomas's point when he says about these conservative women, blah, blah. they'll be conservative for the Japanese. Will be conservative to a white man because white man nuked their fucking country. Yeah, they'll be conservative to the white man because he's the paragon of society globally still for the moment, right? But if you're gonna submit to a black man, and most certainly would a family submit to a black man, you see what I'm saying? What is there to submit to? You submit to power and therefore consequences. No power, no consequences, no respect, no submission. No.
You ain't lying. And I spoke previously about this. on one of my live. I think it was actually last night, saying that a lot of these black men and these content creators are talking about black women not submitting. Right now, I'm gonna say this. Yes, there may be some black women who are not suitable for a traditional conservative relationship, and that applies with all women, right? The reality is the real question you got to ask yourself first before looking for the submission is some of these black men being masculine, and are they being a man first? If that answer is yes, if the answer is yes, let me out. If the answer is yes, and the woman isn't submitting to you, then that woman is not truly in her feminine. Now, if the answer is no, then of course a woman isn't going to submit to you. And this is just apply to black women. This applies to all women in general. And this is what makes me laugh when I hear submission, when the reality is you have to earn your submission, your submissiveness from a woman. Right? It doesn't just come, oh, I'm a man, right? Well, are you being a man? If you're being a man, yes, a woman will submit to you. A woman will stay and do what she got to do. And I experienced that because whenever I was being in my masculine role, she was being in her feminine role. But some of these guys don't understand this. Now, my question, I would say, regarding what is in it for a black woman to basically deal with a black man, that's all dependent on the individual. That's really that. But as a community as a whole, there isn't really that much. But that's what I got to say.
So to Zuli's point then, because this is where he's going to, and this is probably the next point then, in terms of how do we get, because leadership's a part of it. Because again, the stat says that we are the least likely to be in any of these managers, directors, and senior official roles. 4.6% as of the latest set of figures that encapsulated the time period of 2021, so last year. So my question is this then, because it seems as if we don't, because we probably don't see it, I think that we don't get respected by our own, respected by other groups. But the question is, how do we then fix it? What is the
I'll answer that question right now, because I've been talking about this for years. I did presentations on this. I did a lecture about black culture in the university. I think it's the University of London in Russell Square, to educational psychologists representing the black community at one point. And I did a presentation talking about this. I will say first, we got to understand that we first as black people, we need to start having accountability of our image. Our image needs a rework. It's going to be difficult. We may not live to see the day when that changes, but we need to stop promoting degeneracy and promoting the bottom of the community and rising it to the top. And making everything basically reverse. Educated black men who know how to speak right, black men who are educated, staying out of crime, black women who are being feminine, submissive, know how to nurture and be a good mother, being accountable. These are the type of women that needs to be brought up to the forefront and not put down to the bottom, right? So that's something that we need to work on. Another thing that needs to be worked on, right, if things are to change, is we need to work on the black family. We got to understand what it is to have healthy relationships again, right? If we don't have healthy relationships, you can't build wealth. If you can't build wealth, you can't build power, right? So the thing is if the black community really wants to change, they have to work on their image. They have to work on having healthy relationships. And when you have healthy relationships and you start having proper functioning families, that's when you can start building something called generational wealth, right? Now, what does generational wealth give? It gives us generational respect. That's why you can look at other races, specifically the European the European race, right? That's why they are respected, is if you look at their history. So black people need to create positive and new history, good history for the long term for there to be truly change. Then you will start seeing your black prime ministers. Then you'll start seeing your black leaders, and then you'll start getting the respect that you need. The thing is we got to put in the work, and some of us, I don't know if that's going to change. We need to stop having all these children out of wedlock and creating all these gangsters and all these wannabes and basically change up the image. That's like what Jamaica's doing right now, banning crime and glorifying crime. That's what needs to be really done, right? And we need to also understand about building wealth and economics, right? Once you got all of that going on, that's when things will change. And that's just the reality of the things. The reality is you're gonna have to put in work, right? Some of us don't want to put it in like this. For example, right? I remember there was a time when King Richard said that he didn't get any help, right? We should have our own little black media network, right? Where other black people could be basically put on, right? If they feel as if other people ain't helping them out, right? I said straight up, like black people should be having schools to basically improve the athletic ability of blacks who want to be inspired athletes. We don't have these infrastructures brought up. We need to build infrastructure as well. And that where it comes from ownership and leadership, right? Make black men masculine, make black women feminine. That's how you got to do it. That's the only way it's going to change.
No, I hear
And
you, bro.
that's
I hear
that.
you, bro.
Yeah.
Thomas, you want to say something? Then Fiona, I don't know if you wanted to say anything after that. So,
I'll
Thomas,
say-
go ahead, bro.
I agree with brother OJM. That is the logical solution. But brother OJM, I'm sorry, brother. That's never gonna happen. That's the sad truth. That is never gonna happen. Everything you're saying, OJM, that's the solution. Stop. It's so simple. Stop promoting degeneracy. Uplift educated black people who are doing the right thing. No, it's so hard. It's so hard, bro. It's so hard for me. I'm gonna say this, bro. There is a separation. There's a separation between black people, such as myself, such as yourself, OJM, and Zulio, who are doing the right thing. And there's the other who promote degeneracy. I will say this, I will never help a liberal black person because all they do is promote degeneracy. I only want to help people who are doing the right thing. And I believe, Brother Wim, how we're going to create a new community is when black people who are doing the right thing are promoting networking. Because I've seen that. We in my space, among my mates, we are doing networking, we're doing investments, you know, we're helping each other upskill and become better versions of ourselves. That's what we're doing. There won't be a community, but there's going to be a separation between black excellence and just black degeneracy.
No, I hear you. I put something in the back chat. I put it in the main chat, but you know, in answer to promotion, and this is where I think the promotion isn't as out there as probably other things because it's not as sexy. I mean, let's be honest. Certain people will get the spotlight because they're in the entertainment industry, and let's be honest, we're in an entertainment environment where you're going to have a lot of the celebrities are taking over. Obviously, make of that as you wish, but there are some sites in regards to good things that a lot of our younger people are doing in terms of in STEM subjects. They're future leaders, reported leaders who are doing bits, doing their thing. So definitely would say check it out. Fiona, do you have anything you wanted to add on to this at all?
Yeah, I was just sitting in the back and just listening to all the comments, and I think some good points have been made. I just wanted to go back to a point you made about respect and respecting black men. And generally, I've been really disappointed, really. I think we found within the last 2 years and this whole glorifying of men like KS, who historically are just perpetuating the same thing, which is the greed of black men and the fact that they will sell anyone out to kind of prosper. So we can look back to the 70s with pimping when they couldn't find work, pimping out their own women, and then now getting on YouTube and public platforms to disparage. And I think all of this, it makes it very hard to respect and to show that respect. And I think in general, in terms of culture and having children out of wedlock, I mean, I said this to Jesse on his platform yesterday. Black women, love to be married. They uphold marriage. They will even marry people who aren't marriage material. I think the issue is for years and years and years, a lot of black men, and it's been the culture in our society, have said that they don't want to get married. But when then you ask them if they want to have children, they've always replied in the positive. So, it's very confusing. And I think it makes it, as I said, it makes it very hard to respect. The only thing we get promoted is promiscuity, pump and dump, polygamy, very highly sexually charged. And I don't know, I think there's a chip missing somewhere. I don't know what's happened, but I just think in general, we're two very different people when it comes to the men and women within our community. And that's why I say that I have no issue with integration. I think black men have been promoting it since the 90s in the UK. So I just think it's time that black women get on the bus and respect the black men that respect us. And for those that don't, but also respect the non-black people that also show us some respect as well. Because it's pretty clear, even from recent events in this space, that there is no general respect towards black women. So, and once there's $1 to be made or £1 to be made, we'll just be sold out at the drop of a dime.
Hold on. Whoa,
really sad. Really.
Whoa, I don't disrespect black women. I've said before that women are a reflection of the men. And because black men have got,
I think the exception is not the norm, Zulia. And I think you and a few other men like you are the exception. But the exception is not the norm in our community, unfortunately. And I always supported your points, and I agree wholeheartedly with a lot of things that you say. But one man alone or a couple of men alone are not going to outshine the majority. And I'm really looking forward to Jesse's debunking video, actually, debunking this whole notion that the majority of black men are for black women and really like black women. I'm really looking forward to that and his commentary, because I actually think from what we're seeing on a global platform, there's absolutely not true.
Oh, let me ask you this, Fiona. Whose fault is that?
Well, it's the greed. It's the fault of greed and materialism and shiny things. Whenever you see, this is the thing. You want black women and white people to build back up a community that's comfortable and padded for you. When are you going to accept your own error and your own, the error in your own ways? I just think it's ridiculous. It always comes back to black women and white people and racism. But it's not so racist when you're sleeping in the beds of someone else. There's no racism there, is there? You're pretty fast in grabbing your passports.
Yeah, and it's for good reason, Fiona. Black women. Do black women care about their image?
You've totally destroyed. You've totally destroyed the community.
No.
You said you wanted. You said you wanted women. Listen,
Fiona.
When I was at school. I want to speak because you've been speaking a lot.
One person at a time, man.
No, Fiona. Because this is what you do all the time. You blame black men. What about black women? Do they care about their image? Answer me that, Fiona. Do they care about their image?
Well, foolishly, they followed the lead, and they shouldn't have, because the leadership hasn't been good. The leadership hasn't been great, and they followed the leadership. They've acquiesced to them when they've said they didn't want to get married. Okay, I'll have a child. Maybe I'll get married down the line. and it never happened. You know, oh, he's got a woman down the road, but that's okay, I'll accept it. And you've got all half siblings all over the place, you know, and this has been accepted as the norm, and it's your own doing. I'm sorry. You said when I was at school, it was, oh, you know, we don't want black women, they're too frigid. White women do all kinds of things, hanging from chandeliers, you know, we're watching them on all of these websites. And then now you're getting black women are bending to your rule again by being promiscuous and wearing the littlest amount of clothes, trying to impress you. And now, oh, these are Jezebels. Well, what do you want? What exactly do you want? They followed your leadership to a T, and it's pretty clear that we're going to have to become our own individuals.
I will say this, right? I would say I think it's both. I think it's black women and black men that has a role to play a part in this. But like, to be honest, like Fiona's got a point, you know. Like I said previously, I said leadership, right? Leadership is the reflection of the community, right? If the black community is in the state it is, because no one is leading it in the right way. And who are the natural born leaders, right? It's black men, right? You know, you're hearing, you know, you're hearing this on the, and it's painful to say this because I'm a guy myself, but you have to be honest, right? You're hearing this talk about black men traveling overseas, you know, passport bros. Yeah, fair enough, travel. But when you do the optics in terms of like you do the research on the countries that they are telling you to go to, it's all high in sex tourism, STDs, and promiscuity, right? All you gotta do is do a little Google search. People talking about Brazil, Dominican Republic, Thailand, all these places, right? For example, I spoke on my live stream. You know, there was a guy called Cheyenne, right? Nice guy, right? And he said he wanted to go to Thailand because of what these other YouTubers were talking about, right? And I tried to explain to them, look, do some research on Thailand before you go, and you might realize Thailand isn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? So we both got a part to play, the black men and the black women, right? But to be fair, the leadership plays a role in how the state of the black community. Now, for the black women, right, in that case of mothers or being a mother, is how you nurture and raise these children, right? But also the father comes involved as well, and they're not around, and some of these fathers ain't around either. So in my opinion, I would say it's a 50-50. It's both of us that plays a part and plays a role in it. We can't just keep pointing fingers at, oh, it's the black man or it's the black woman. It's both of us, right? We both had a part to play in it. I can't say what the percentage is, who has more of the blame or who's the other. We could go about that all day, but in the end of the day, it's about what can we do about it. I already laid out the blueprint in regards of what needs to be done.
It's nowhere near 50-50, Jesse. I disagree.
All right, so,
sorry.
All right. I never said it was 50-50. I said I don't know what the percentage is. I corrected myself, right? We could point fingers. We could point if it's the black man more or the black woman more. But in the end of the day, is what can we do about it? You know, same way, you know, you're hearing the content creators, people talking about body count. Okay, what are you going to do about the body count of a woman or a man? You can't, because there's no tangible evidence to prove that, right? So it's the same thing that applies with both genders, right? In the end of the day, is what we got to do about it. Pointing fingers at who is and who isn't, it's not going to make a difference about what is the solution to the problem
body count,
and who's being created by who. But yeah,
body count. We all know. Come on, from our own experiences in terms of body count, we all know. Everybody knows. Everyone's sung it from the rooftops that black women are not most desirable, particularly in school. Or not the first ones chosen. Goodness. So all this thing about body count, you know. We all used to overhear the girls in our class, especially the non-black girls, about how they had boyfriends from 12, 13 years old. And we're all looking at them clueless because none of us were doing that. But all of a sudden, we've become the Jezebel of society. I just want to know where this has all come from, quite frankly.
Your image. That's
and
the,
all of
your
your
image.
boasting and braggadociousness about how they're very experimental in the bedroom. This is all we've heard for the last 20 years. And you're quite young, Thomas, so I don't know where you've been, but this
No,
is all
I
we've
haven't.
heard for
No,
the last
no,
20
no, no,
years.
no. You can't. Don't you dare tell me I'm young. I have experience. I have a lot of experience, so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Don't you dare say that I'm young. All right. The problem is black women do not care about their image. That's why they're the least desirable. You do
Oh yeah,
not
you
take
cared.
any accountability.
Our
Do you
image
care?
was
No,
cared
they
about
don't.
when you were pimping us out, was it?
Well, whose fault is
Was
that? No, no, no,
was
no,
that when
Fiona.
you
Whose
couldn't get
fault
a
is that?
job, you couldn't
Whose
create
fault
your
is
own
that?
jobs?
Whose fault is that, Fiona? What type of men did you choose? What type of men did you choose? Who has security for your own body? You can't answer that question, can you?
That's why I say it's both of us. We both have a part to play in this.
You're not gonna come here and blame black men. Black women need to take accountability. We both, yeah, brother OJM, you're right. We need to take accountability.
And it's someone's.
I take accountability, but I'm not gonna, no, Fiona. I'm not gonna allow you to say black men this, black men that. You're not
You
gonna.
don't have
No,
to. You don't have to give me permission to do anything.
I
I'm
don't
telling
care.
you what it is and what it was. Okay, and people in the chat that are saying, "Oh, this is American talking points." Last time I checked, the single motherhood rates for Black women were pretty high as well here. So it's not just it's an overall worldwide issue. It's not just an American talking point. So come off of it.
All right, so let me try and pivot sort of the conversation a little bit and move it forward, because one of the things I've been sort of marinating on is about sacrifice, and how do we think we need what I call almost like the silent generation? Because let's be honest, if we're saying we want to, fix these issues, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice. And
yes,
are we? And this is it. And obviously, Zulu, you're on this, put all the cards on the table, all in. You're not one of those kind of people who wants to, be faffing about. So I suppose is that what are we able to do? I suppose is the question. Are we in a position to be able to sacrifice, or do we have the mentality to sacrifice? Because there is a school of thought now. There is a school of thought where
I have to be honest. I don't think we can. Right? I know the sacrifices that some of us is gonna have to do for things to change and to change our image. We're gonna have to get rid of the drill music. We're gonna have to get rid of the criminal culture, right? The criminal culture, the glorification. We're gonna have to separate from the degenerates to the positives, various things of that nature, right? We're gonna have to do, but I just can't see it happening at the moment because of the state and how good black women and black men are basically treated for doing the right thing, right? And if that doesn't, let's say if that doesn't change, like if they don't do these things, get rid of the degeneracy, right? That's a sacrifice, right? The music that we may have to get rid and said, you know what, no, we're done with this.
But the thing is, though, Jesse, can we even do that? Because let's be honest,
no, we can't.
We don't have the power. The people who own the music, the people who own the record companies, entertainment industry, they don't look like us, so it won't be in their best interest. So could we even? Is that even an option?
Yeah, we can. I'm not saying it's not realistic.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is there has to be a concerted effort, which in my opinion is an ideal world.
Okay.
Rappers will say, hey, look, I no longer want to do this, but they're not gonna throw the bag away, are they? Right? You're gonna have to have black people saying, now we're no longer listening to this. I don't care who owns the music. This is degenerate music. This is deaf music. This promotes gang culture. Blah 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 blah. Right? Forget drill, all that stuff. Right? It's not realistic, but those are the things that has to be done. Right? It doesn't. The thing is it doesn't matter. Like when it comes to products that you bring out, for example, if it's non-black people that own rap music, right? If a lot of black people don't listen to this stuff, and yeah, I know there's other races of people that listen to that music too, right? And we just disown it and discard it, and we don't listen to that stuff. We don't basically prescribe to that image, then it's only going to affect other people and not really us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because we no longer subscribe to that music or that type of negative type of culture. But I don't see it happening because we're talking in an ideal world. Not everyone's going to discard real music. Not everyone's going to discard the criminal culture and various things of that nature that is driving the black image in a negative way.
Oh no. I mean, and even in the most utopia world, that could never happen because there's always elements of degenerate people in life. So I 100% agree with you. But one of the things that's kind of troubling me is it's not on the degenerate side. It's on the side of even the educated, and this is what's troubling me as well. The ones who are more conscious in mind. Even I see there are different forms of degenerate behavior, and this is where I went to the respect thing with black men and black women and just the respect of our people, where I don't think it's even just the obvious people who are stabbing each other, the people who are into the drill music. And I think a lot of it is just across the board in other aspects, which how we communicate with each other, how we respect each other. I mean, let me give you this perfect example. Do you think if Just Pearly Things was a black woman, she would have been do you think she would have got the cosign in the past, even if she agreed with the men like that? Do you think she would have been able to do that?
No, she wouldn't, because the reason why is, as I said, black women and black men don't get along. Some of them just don't like each other, right? We simply don't get along. And, it reflects the aspect of how the state of the community is, right? If Just Pearly Things was a black woman trying that, yeah, good luck. And the thing is here's what people don't get. There has been other black women that have done that already, right?
Not to this extent, and this is where for me it's more prevalent, because Falcon, you're right when you said who you said, but it's just like I don't think they could have got in like the way how it's got in, and it just reminds me of us as a people in a lot of aspects of our beings, where I think we respect leaders who aren't from amongst us more than leaders who look like us. I don't know if I'm reaching, I don't know, but on a man scale or on a male scale or a female scale, I just think that seems to be my thought process a lot of times, that we probably respect leadership if it comes from a different type of person at this moment in time. I don't know if I'm reaching.
The sad thing is I was in Tanzania, I think it was like 7 years ago. I was doing this organization thing, yeah, and the people said, we want the Mzungu healthcare professional. And I was like, wow, even here in Tanzania, they actually equate competence and intelligence with whiteness. That was one of the saddest moments of my life. It was crazy, man.
Oh, is that who they are? The Mzungu? Is that what
Mzungu is Swahili for white. Well, as a white person, it's called a Mzungu. Wazungu is plural. And I was like, fuck,
And that is deep into that's on a deep level. And I was thinking, do you know what we need to do? And I think this is part of the reason why we need to enslave some other groups. We need to like colonize some other places, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of it comes from, let's be honest, isn't it funny? Now, this is something that got me. That's kind of, it is what it is, but it's messed up when you think about it. To unite African tribes, it's by a European tongue or an Arabic tongue. So think about that. To unite a group of people, it's a tongue that reminds you of this is what happened to us. Now, I know it is what it is. You can't control it, but it's like I don't think I see any historical evidence of like African tongues elsewhere that you can tell, okay, these people held these lands in, I don't know, Sweden, Finland, in China. Again, people correct me if I'm wrong. My history is not that great, but I'm just thinking, you see how that rolls, where it's like we would more respect it. It seems. I don't know if that's it. And religion is also a big thing. It's just like, I think there's something deep with that when it comes to leadership and black male leadership, and how it always seems synonymous with either corruption, incompetence, if it is a leadership. But if it's a real leader we're talking about, it's like, yeah. I don't know if anyone gets my drift.
Yeah, people respect power, isn't it? I mean, it's better to be feared than loved. In a way, sometimes. Oh well, man. I think sometimes we're too nice, man. As a group of people, I know they're paying us as savages, but sometimes we're like naive children, man. I'm sorry, that sounds harsh. Not all of us, but as a group, we really just don't understand how the game is played, and maybe we don't even want to know. You know, it's quite clear that we live in a society that's quite tribal, and people group up. You know, particularly Asians, Jews, and we're playing this game as individuals, and it's not working. And you know, and you about solutions. You never asked me about solutions. Well, for me, I'm hardcore. I'll do arranged marriages. I would do mandatory sterilization of people who don't make it intellectually or degenerate. I would. What else would I do? I mean, me personally. I mean, I prefer people to marry within their own ethnic group. It's just something I prefer. It looks more natural to me. That's just how I've always. I just think it looks more natural. It feels more natural. And these other cultures, they do arrange marriages. They do honor killings if you go against group code. You have to marry who your parents tell you to. They do this and they're successful. Jews do this. Pakistanis do this. Hindus do this. We don't do these things, and people look at me like I'm a crazy person for saying this, but you know these are cultural protocols and cultural norms that they adhere to, you know. And you know, and about this interracial piece, let me say this again. I understand for sex and stuff like that. Okay, fine, you want to do all that stuff, fine. When it comes to long-term relationships, I think a lot of, and I've seen this in my family, because all my brothers ended up with white chicks. And they all become submissive. The women tell them what to do. And I honestly believe most of the time these black guys are getting liberal-minded women, right? And they go to black guys because they know they're not held to a standard because there's no penalties. And also the fact that a black guy will worship them more than what their own man would. So you get a situation where a woman is able to get a guy who's probably better looking than the guy that she would get in her own group because you got the whole white tax, inflation, ethnic tax. And at the same time, this same black guy has no power to enforce standards. So I get to get away with whatever I want, get worshipped like a queen, just like that, by a guy who's objectively better than me, but because of society's eyes, he's less than me, right? And that ginger chick, what's her name? Pearly Things, you know, she'll be called all types of ginger ninja, ginga, you know, all these type of things, freckles, disgusting, gross by our own men. But when it comes down to us, now we're kissing her ass, where she would have been ostracized by white community. Who would call her a transvestite or something, your big ass hands is 6'3". Should have been a joke.
No. That is, and that is true to an extent. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, because I know even just talk about the ginger piece. I know what I never understood growing up, but it is what it is. They don't like ginger head people. It's I think it's like a northern thing. We obviously reject recessive gene, but anyway. But you're right. It's like we're probably I won't say you're too inclusive. It's a case where we just let anyone stroll in and we don't obviously give a crap, and it's just like, yeah, it would never happen, at least without pushback. That's what I'll say to that.
Because you know what, yeah, I just clocked onto something here. Like, low key, right? You know, Zulia may talk some extreme stuff, man. I'll be honest with you, man. On here, sometimes I'm holding back, right? Because I got the spirit of Uncle Ruckus in me, bro. Right? So I'm just saying, sometimes I'm holding back, man. Like I have some mad ideas, but I don't really say it on here, right? That would actually make people would make the black community in a lot better place. But some people think I'd be crazy saying this type of stuff. But the other thing as well, yeah, is I would create a squad. It would be called the Coon Squad, which is the complete opposite of niggers, right? And what this would be is a commission group of, let's say, black people who are basically positive individuals, right? Who have no nonsense, gets down to the facts and so on and so forth, and basically have a group of these people basically lay out solutions and so on and so forth. Because I don't think we need one leader. I think we need a whole commissioning group, in my opinion. Right, because I think we're for man. Sam said, "Let the Uncle Ruckus come out." Trust me, you don't want it, man. You don't want it to come out, right?
But you know what? Do you know what I have with that? And even on the conservative end, it's why I've like been disillusioned with a lot of conservative what do we call them, figureheads. And what they do is they go full to that Uncle Ruckus, and what they will actually do is they would hurt black people in a way which even, let's be honest, even white people won't even do it. They'll
Right.
honestly, it's like the house slave. They would have the black person up there to say the things that they can't say in a way which is even worse. It's like, I give an example, Preet Patel, Suwala Braverman. If you ever listen to what the rhetoric that they say, their own people, even if they may agree with some of the things that are said, they say they almost have to like double be extra hard on their own people in a way which even like white people who don't like immigration and don't want it all to be multiracial, and they want to keep their own land, you know, ethnically British, which fair enough. But even they were like, come on, that's ridiculous. But a lot of these conservatives are used as pawns. That's why I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but a lot of the ones who I believe were on that King B really, really just, yeah.
Right. That's why, like, this is why I don't have really any political affiliations, because either side you look at is there's pros and cons. That's why I say I got the spirit of Uncle Ruckus in me. It's just like I just have zero tolerance for BS basically regarding that in the community, right? So another thing as well, here's something that really baffled me, right, regarding the Just Pearly things, right? There's one girl who's close to Just Pearly Figs, who I think is mad attractive, right? Well, I think she's really nice, right? Her name is my namesake called Jess, right? I don't see that same energy in terms of simping for her than, let's just say, Just Pearly Things, which I find is quite strange.
I know who you're talking about, bro.
You know who?
Yeah.
Do you see my point? Like,
yeah.
Right, she's a sister, right? I think she's light skinned, right? And she's good looking and so forth. She's on there. I don't see that same energy for her, because I'm like, if you're simping, if I was a simp, even though I'm not a simp, I'm simping for her instead of Just Pearly Things. Just saying, right?
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
is why, right? This is why I'm concluding, right? Some of these black men, right? And I say some, not all, right? Is they are attracted to the clout. They're attracted to the clout, like with Just Pearly Things, right? No, trust me, bro. Captain Tosin, they're simping. The fact that they claim her to be the leader of the Black Manosphere and black men saying, "Oh yeah, I would date her," and yada yada. All you got to do is look at the comments on a live chat with her in it, not on her own channel, but on other. All you got to do is just look there. Obsidian Ali, a whole bunch of them, right? They go crazy. I never seen something like this in my life, right? So just putting it out there. You won't see it on her channel because it's more stick to the topic, but some of them be mad simping, right? And it's like, this is what I'm saying. Most of her chat ain't black. I ain't talking about the black content creators. When she's on the black content creators channels like Obsidian, the Black Manosphere type guys, just peep the chat. You will see what I'm talking about. Right now, what I will say is like, this is why I say some black men are followers. As soon as they see the clout, they're gonna get rid of their values just for the clout.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, man.
A primate, like you're seeing it right there with Sarah Garvey and King Richards right now. And again, I ain't got a problem with those two, but I'm just peeping the optics. Their values went completely out of the window.
You know what, brother? I agree. I have no issue with Sarah Garvey, but I have a lot of issues with King Richards, man.
Like what? Be interesting to hear.
He's a stereotype, for one. He talks about image, but, bruv, look at him. Like, you really not one to talk about image.
You know what?
So,
I'll be honest with you. I see what you're saying. The guy's got muscles, got tattoos. He wears a gold chain. I think he's got gold teeth. I'm not sure.
He does. He's like what's the other guy's name? Castillo.
And the funny thing was that he spoke about he spoke about he didn't like the stereotype of certain blacks.
But he is a stereotype.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, you can't say one thing. Bro, he contradicts himself. I ain't gonna say, oh, I'm not a Tyrone, but you are a Tyrone. You clearly stated you're a Tyrone.
You are right, because there was a video, there was a live stream, there was a video of, I don't know if you watched it on Just Pearly Things. There was a black guy.
Yeah, I watched it. I know what you're talking about.
The intelligent black guy that was very, very.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I know.
Him.
Yeah.
He identified King Richards as that, and that dude. I respect that guy.
I have a lot of respect for that guy.
What he did for himself.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that brother. He's like me. He's like you and me.
Right.
We clearly point out, but I'm saying. I know some brothers have respect for King Richards, but I'm being objective here. Like, if I'm gonna go into an important meeting with white people, yeah, I'm gonna bring the best brothers. I'm gonna bring the brothers who have that appearance, who are wearing suits, who are clean-cut, educated brothers. I would never choose King Richards because he doesn't fit that. How are they gonna take him seriously looking like that, bro?
I hear that, but like for me, is like there's certain blacks for certain situations. That's how I see it. Like I see like King Richards as more as a street type of guy. He's the street wise type of dude, the social monster type of guy. So
this is something I was going to say, because this is where a lot of it's a very elitist trait, which white people do this a lot, in which they don't really care about poor white people. And I wanted to sort of let me ask Thomas a question then. Do you think at least we can, because I don't necessarily think he's, like, for example, I don't know if you think he's a bad guy or anything. I know he looks like a stereotype, but isn't there a way where we can sort of, again, this is about bringing people together, and this is what a good leader does. And nowadays we always talk about inclusivity and this is part of emotional intelligence, where are we now going to hurt a lot of brothers who may fit the stereotype, who they've come from a past, they've come from a lifestyle of history, but they've changed and everything like that at all? I mean, isn't there room at all where we can say, if you're, for leadership to be, okay, cool, we can bring him in? If you see what I mean? Or are you just gonna, Thomas, you're just like, no.
No, like the brother Sam pointed out in the live chat, King Richards is for entertainment, but he's not being taken seriously in terms of tech, business, or finance. He's only for entertainment purposes, brother. Like I said this before, bro. KS pointed this out. Presentation matters the most. Presentation matters the most.
There is an expression called substance or style, no substance.
I understand that, bro. Don't get me wrong, bro. I understand that. You can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
But that's the reality, brother, Wim. That is the reality. I'm sorry, but that's what it is.
I mean, that just seems a little bit, again, it's very, very harsh. I mean, again, he always seems to be he seems to be a cool guy, to be honest with you. I won't have no problems with it. You know what I mean?
You might think of him as a cool guy, but I'm being objective here, bro.
Okay, Jesse, did you want to say anything on that? I know you want to jump in.
Yeah, I will say, I don't really like looking at people's appearances, right? I would say anyone's welcome as long as they have a certain, like, if they have certain morals and they know how to conduct themselves. Yeah, there's certain dress codes in certain places, and yeah, we got to accept that. Like again, I said, I ain't got no problem with King Richards. The dude works hard. I've known him for probably almost a decade now, right?
Let's take him out of the equation. Just the aesthetics, though. We'll talk about the aesthetics, though. In that type of character, how he's most likely perceived. Right. I'm not sure how stereotype. He is. Yeah.
All right. I got no problem if there was someone like a stereotype, like as long as I would say, as long as they have certain standards and have certain morals and understand how to behave and various things of that nature, I won't have any issues with anyone joining. It's like, as long as we're all on the same page, I don't think there should be really an issue. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but we got to take into consideration that there is certain dress codes for certain let's say roles, you know.
Okay, I was gonna compare it to something, but I don't want to go down that route.
Okay.
Fair enough then, but no, Captain Toast in the chat did say True Geordie, if you know who he is. He has tattoos, wear a chain. And this is the thing where I think where people of that stereotype, they're more impactful to the community than people who want to go down that clean cut route. Here's what I mean. Because they have to break the mold in order to get respect, number one, and number two, to actually make a living, because they may have I'm stereotyping to the max now. They may have a criminal record, they may have a dodgy history. So what a lot of them do is that they break the mold by doing things which, let's be honest, a lot of us will probably dream about doing. May not be in the way we wanted to do it, but you see what I mean? And what they do is that they bring other people up, because people like, you would say, the clean cut brothers, they've rejected them, when you could argue they should be the ones at least trying to give them a leg up, if that makes sense.
Well, brother, it depends on
elitism is what I'm trying to say.
Well, brother, it depends on what you mean, because, like someone said in the live chat, King Richards is there for entertainment. But there's the clean cut brothers. We're in the corporate world, so we have more advantages than King Richards.
But you know what I'm going to say to this? I think a lot. I think because you have to conform when you're in these environments. I think a lot of educated brothers have a complex about their identity, which is why a lot of them get called Oreos.
Some do. I will agree on that. Some do, but people like me who's clean cut, now I know my identity. I know. I'd say I know what I think it's a few. The majority of clean cut brothers, we know ourselves. We focus more on our missions. I'll say that's a certain few clean cut brothers who have that identity crisis, like Calvin Robinson, for example, from GB News. That's a guy who I think he has a bit of a identity crisis.
Quasi Kotag, yeah or nay? Is that fair?
Yeah, because I did remember there was a rumor that Quasi Quarter didn't like having black company around him, which was very alarming.
Wow.
I heard about that. Now, again, I think the source who it came from, you probably will have to take it with a pinch of salt, if I'll be honest with you. But I did hear that being sprinkled around, that he may seem to want to be the only black person in the room. I don't know.
Yeah, and this comes back to my. Remember the time I told you, Brother Wim, when I had an interview with this company called Capgemini?
Yeah,
do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the only black person. My interviewer was black, and he had his white colleagues. So he wanted he wanted to be the only black guy. Those are the type of black guys I always avoid, because I know, okay, I know what you're about, and I will avoid you. I don't want anything to do with you because you clearly don't like the color of your own skin.
No, I hear you. I mean, I was watching. Gosh, I was watching. Like, I don't know if you know this guy, Jesse Lee Peterson, and he was like the classic example of like Uncle Ruckus in that respect, where he made these comments about basically, once a society has too many black people, not enough white people, the society goes to shit. And how we need to have more white people and not enough, and less black people, and how and it's just like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they're of that same ilk at all, but you see how sometimes it just goes down into sort of the abyss of where we ain't nothing. We're just a group of people who are victims or criminal activity or things like that. And it's like, bruh.
Brother, didn't he get busted for some kind of crime? That's why he's been cancelled, right?
Oh, I could tell you, he got, basically there was a scandal going on which he isn't really being busted for. We don't even know if it's real, about basically a sexual assault charge or SA charge on a basically another guy, right? Apparently he was a groomer. That's what they allegedly say. Now, like Jesse Lee Peterson, he'll be perfect to put into my coon squad, right? But basically, the thing with him is I've listened to him for a long time, and a lot of stuff he's saying, like there's some gems he does say, but there's times where I think he is a bit extreme with some of his views. Like, I don't know if you saw, I think he's took it away now, his take on George Floyd when it happened. I was like, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, brother OJM. What about Candace Owens? What's your opinions on her?
Candace Owens, I don't listen to her because I'll be honest with you, like I try and keep my stuff UK based because I don't really care about what goes on in the States because the Americans don't really give a damn about what we do here. So I try and keep stuff to the minimum, right? So yeah. So that's why I don't have anything to say on Candace Owens. Based off what I've seen, some things she talks sense about and so on and so forth, but there's certain times where I think there's times where she's a bit too diva-ish and thinks that sometimes she's above the law, right, in terms of some of the stuff that she said. But that's just really that in my opinion. I don't really have much to say about it because I don't really have much.
She's another one who for me comes across as a grifter where and it's like some of the things it's just to pander to a crowd. And even I think the most conservative black person, there are certain things which you're going to see and think, no, that's messed up. And they'll just sidestep it, don't care about it. But when it comes to pandering to the crowd, it's like, it should be up all over it. And I'm thinking, this is where I'm just like, look, people act as if conservative black people have never existed until the last 10, 15 years. That's never been the case. It's just on certain issues, we seem to vote more on the liberal, the left side, but that's not because we're not conservative. Most black people historically are conservative from their religious practices, from the fact that they have their views on LGBTQ. A lot of black people traditionally have conservative values, if I be honest. So that kind of stuff, it makes me, I chuckle when I hear, oh, I'm a black conservative, and it's like, is that a medal you want handing out with? What do you want? What do you want with that kind of stuff? It's like,
But the thing is, brother, and then what you said is true. But where is it today? Where is it? Like that, shouldn't black people be conservative today? Because if we were, wouldn't we be in a better position? Because there wouldn't be any victim mentality. There wouldn't be any degeneracy. Just a food for thought, bro.
No. I hear what you're saying. And listen, don't get me wrong. The culture has shifted over the last 10, 15 years where you would argue, where is the conservatism? And at the end of the day, a lot of the old ways have definitely dissipated. And I definitely would agree with it. Now, whether you think it's wrong or not, that's another thing about culture. Culture evolves to a point where even whether LGBTQ is right or not, whatever you subscribe to 20 years ago is not the same as it today. Like, let's take slavery, for example. Under conservative rules, we would be slaves. Under a lot of conservative practices, we would not be the people who we are today. We wouldn't be free. So there are certain things which you have to look at and think, how far back do you want to go in history and really think about where we were as a people and what we were doing as a people and how we were thought of as a people. They were under a lot of conservative people from two-parent households who did some atrocities. So certain things I'm like, I get you, but certain things I'm like, you just have to be a little bit careful when we say, oh, I want the old days. I'm like, in the old days, you were a slave or colonized.
Not politically, but I'm talking about mindset.
For me, it kind of goes both ways. If your mindset's a certain way, politically you vote a certain way. You see what I mean?
I'm not Labour. I would never vote for Labour. Just
no, that's fair. That's fair. I kind of want to shut the stream down now, people. So it's been 3 hours and then it's Sunday. I appreciate everyone's. I assume most people have work in the morning and whatnot. So I kind of wanted to shut the stream down. But I just wanted to, I don't know, Fiona Zuli, you've kind of been a little bit quiet. So I just wanted to know if you had any sort of thoughts at all before we sort of end down the stream that we've not covered or wanted just to chat.
No, man, just want to say good stream. Caught it late. Had a long day at work. I get some sleep. And I was heated today, man. I was full of rage. But I appreciate what you're doing. And It sounds pretty hopeless to me, but if anyone has a solution, please put it in the description box or the comment section. I'll be all ears.
No, man, Zulu, we need to get you in a mindset of positivity, man, because you know what I mean. We need to get some positivity coming from you, Zulu. I know, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Because that kind of stuff will mess up your mindset and health, not just mental health, but actual physical health. So we need to get you on a positive mindset, at least somehow, some way. Fiona, do you have anything you wanted to add at all?
Hi, no, not really. Just wanted to say great stream as usual. I hope you do a lot more going forward as you used to. And, no hard feelings to anyone on the panel. I think we all have our own kind of viewpoints, and that's what makes it interesting. But yeah, I look forward to your next one, and also Jesse's as well on the whole debunking theories. So yeah, but good night, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. But no, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please make sure you like the stream, share, subscribe if you're new. I suppose Jesse, Thomas, you have any last final thoughts before I shut the stream down? Sorry.
Let me apologize for my behavior.
Honestly, I listen. I appreciate the realness and the rawness. I never apologize unless you start, completely cussing up people. But you're not done that today, so it's all good.
No, thanks, bro. There is no solution, bro. What can we do? Like, everything that the brothers on the panel have said, those are the solutions. Stop living this liberal lifestyle, stop promoting degeneracy. But it's not going to happen, bro. So
I hear you. I think I need to do a live stream about the individual versus the collective and how.
Yeah.
Truth be told, to collectively get better, the individual needs to collectively work. Because at the end of the day, we all individually have to work. So I may just talk about that or bring it up on some video about. Truth be told, we talk about as a group, but at the end of the day, even if it's a group solution, each and every one of us individually has to actually put the work in. You see what I mean? So yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it's really on an individual level, which is really what we need to do. Because you can't make anyone do anything that they, ain't gonna do.
That's it, bro. Like, I don't know, bro. Because a lot of, especially black men, they just need to take accountability, be stoic, be systematic, find a routine, remove all distractions, and just promote a lot of self-improvement. But you don't see that today, bro.
I hear you, bro. I definitely hear you. I hear you. But no, again, as always, Thomas, appreciate you coming on the live stream. So, as always, Jesse, any final thoughts at all?
Yeah. Also, I want to thank you again for donating to my channel. You're the first donator in OGM history. So you have that
nice little privilege. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. I will say that I appreciate the live stream. Some of the things that I needed to say had to be said. Again, even though yes, I have some criticization on certain content creators, it doesn't necessarily mean I have like a beef or a problem with them. I just get down to the truth. I take the emotion out and I just get down to the facts, regardless of if they're a friend or a foe. So just want to put that out there. And I think this is a very interesting stream. It was good to hear certain people's perspectives on things. And even though things may seem bleak at the moment, in time things may change. You never know. But I laid out the solution. I laid out the blueprint in terms of what needs to be actually done. The real hard part is actually doing it. That's the hard part. So that's all I got to really say. That's really my closing thoughts on this.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So no, again, appreciate you for stopping by, Jesse. And again, looking forward to your stream whenever that comes across. So I definitely have that.
Probably will come sometime this week, next year, the week coming now, like Monday to whatever.
Yeah, no. That's so tomorrow then, sorry. Basically.
No. I'm saying it will be during the week.
Ah, got you. Yeah, awesome.
7:30 p.m. most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do, I'll put your links in the chat once I've finished up here. So
Alright,
yeah,
cheers.
make sure people are aware of it. So yeah, definitely go subscribe to Jesse for all my people in the chat and people watching on the replay. But no, again, thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate everyone for participating. So thanks to all my guests who come up here, and thanks to all for in the chat. Please make sure you like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you are new, and listen to the playback. But as always, until the next one, stay blessed, stay healthy, and we're out of here.